Every composer should have a pet instrument जिसके साथ वो comfortable हो. It can be any instrument. For me, it is the keyboard. अभी आने वाली जितनी भी टेक्निकल चीज़ है जो मैं आपके साथ शेयर करूंगा वो कीबोर्ड के थ्रू समझाऊंगा, पर ये कॉन्सेप्ट सारे इंस्ट्रूमेंट्स के लिए एप्लीकेबल है. Western music has a total of 12 notes which make an octave. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. What I just played is an octave. ऐसे ही एक ग्रैंड पियानो में 7 ऑक्टेव होते हैं. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 and 7. When you play a key in one octave, which is the C, let's take the C, this is the central C, this is the C note, and then play the same key in the next octave, which is another C. उसकी frequency या pitch double हो जाती है. There are 12 notes per octave. From C to the next C, it has 7 white notes, as you can see. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and back to C. And you have black notes, which are 5. This is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Together they make 12 notes. To understand the concept of scales, one needs to know what is a half step and a whole step. A half step is also called a semitone. So the next key you play is your half step or the semitone, and the whole step, which is called a tone. The black keys are called flats and sharps. Sharps raise the note by a half step, which is this is the sharp, which is raising the note by a half step, and flats lower the note by a half step, which is a D. It lowers it by a half step. So C sharp is raised to C, and also D flat, which is the same key that is lowered from D. So this particular note becomes a C sharp, also a D flat. So both of them being the same black key on the keyboard. The term scale comes from Western classical music. In Hindustani/Carnatic music, we have raga, which is also derived from scales. Scale is basically a selection of notes. Each and every song in the world that you hear is made from these 12 notes, which gives you an idea of what notes to experiment with any song. A combination of notes in the 12-note octave is a scale. If you play all these 12 notes together, it will give you a chromatic scale. That's a chromatic scale. Scales बहुत तरीके के होते हैं, but the most common ones are the major scales and the minor scales. The easiest way to remember the construction of a major scale is your C major scale, because as I said, it's the all white keys. All white keys from C to C, that's a C major scale. Sa, re, ga, ma, pa, da, da, sa. जो हम लोग सारे गामा पा धा नि सा बोलते हैं, the sound of सारे गामा पा धा नि सा. That's your C, D, E, F, G, A, B, C. This is the sound of a scale, C major scale. And in C major scale, see how we go the whole step. This is your whole step from C to D. D to E is a whole step. E to F is a half step because you don't have any black key here. Then F to G is a whole step. G to A is a whole step. A to B is a whole step. And again B to C is a half step. Again, which has no black key in the middle. So this is a major scale. इसी तरह एक माइनर स्केल को समझने का सबसे आसान तरीका is to start from A minor scale, which is your A. This is your A. So A minor scale means, because it has all white keys again. So that's your A minor scale. Minor scale का construction goes, we go whole step, then half step. Again, nothing here, half step. Whole step, half step, whole step, and whole step. So now, with this philosophy, let's play the G minor scale. G minor scale is this. Da, 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 da. Again, it has whole step. Same philosophy as A minor scale that we saw. Whole step, half step, whole step, whole step, half step, whole step, whole step. So now you know the construction of a major and a minor scale. This can help you identify your scales in any key. I mean any key. The foundation and the basic understanding of sharps, flats, tones and semitones is very important for this. एक स्केल में जितने नोट्स होते हैं उसके अकॉर्डिंग अलग अलग टाइप के स्केल्स होते हैं. There are 7 note scales, there are 6 note scales and there are 5 note scales. इसमें 7 note scales सबसे कॉमन होते हैं. the most of the songs that you hear in the world, they all come from these 7-note scales, whether it's major or minor. और उसमें भी major और minor scales ही सबसे ज़्यादा यूज होते हैं because that's the most commonly used scales in the world. Also in minor scales, there are 3 types of minor scales. First, natural minor. Then we have a harmonic minor. And the third, melodic minor. And then we have the modes. Modes are also similar to normal scales, just shifted by a degree. Let's take C major scale for example. All white keys from C to C. And now, when I shift this scale by just 1 degree, from C to C, I just go to D to D. I play the same pattern on the white keys. It'll be like, you get your first mode, which is a D Dorian mode. So modes are derived by playing scales in different degrees. Here, this is your D Dorian mode, this is your E Phrygian, this is F Lydian, G Mixolydian, A Aeolian, Locrian, and C. Now, in D Dorian is equivalent to your Rag Bhimpalasi in Hindustani. E Phrygian, which is a little bit of it gives a sound of what do you call Middle Eastern. It has got a very Middle Eastern vibe, and also Rag Bhairavi in Hindustani. Then you have your Rag Yaman as F Lydian. This is F Lydian. Then you have a G Mixolydian, which is your Rag Khamaj. Ek Kudi was created on Mixolydian scale. Then you have your A Aeolian, which is your A minor scale, which we call it as A minor scale. And then the B Locrian. It has got a very augmented and very diminished feel to it. So it is important to know your scales well to understand the mood. इसके बाद there are major modes, minor modes, melodic minor modes, harmonic minor modes, etc. ऐसे कई सारे modes हैं which you can play around and practice with. Then we move on to the 5-note scales. The 5-note scale, which are called pentatonic scales. There are major pentatonic scale. Basically, I've omitted the 2 notes out of the 7-note scale, the 4th and the 7th, which is giving me my major pentatonic. And similarly, minor pentatonic. Your major pentatonic is equivalent to your Rag Bhopali Hindustani, and minor pentatonic is your Rag Malkos. Play with these keys and create your own songs. Every scale expresses some kind of emotions, and it is all about how you hook your audience by playing with these emotions. Minor has a little sad, dark, melancholic vibe to it, whereas major has a very happy feeling to it. But these things shouldn't constrain you. A major can be sad and a minor can be happy as well. It's always up to the composer. For example, Zinda Ho Yaar Kafi Hai from the film Lutera. It is a very sad song. In that moment in the film, everything is destroyed for Ranveer's character, till that song is made in a major scale. So this is a major scale. And in the same way, when you can play positive, romantic songs in minor. For example, Pashmina, which is actually a very beautiful and a very happy romantic song, is created on a minor scale. Like, so this way. Then let's talk about the 6-note scales, which are called hexatonic scales. Either you omit 1 note from a 7-note scale, or you add 1 note to a pentatonic scale, you get your hexatonic scale. In the pentatonic scale, let's say the C minor pentatonic. This is your C minor pentatonic. When we add one note to it, which is your F sharp, this note, we sometimes call it a blue note because it comes from your blue scale, which is so basically you're adding a flat or a fifth note to make a pentatonic to a 6-note scale. For any composer to compose music or to play any song or make any melody, a composer needs to have the thorough knowledge of these scales, especially the major and the minor scales in all the 12 notes. The way to make this learning experience more comprehensive is to master one scale at a time and then move further. जैसे मैंने अभी आपको C मेजर स्केल बताया, जब आप हर नोट पे आराम से इन स्केल्स को बजाने लग जाओगे, उसके बाद आप स्केल्स बजाने की प्रैक्टिस मेट्रोनोम पे भी कर सकते हो. इससे आपकी उंगलियों में लय आएगा. Well, this is a long learning process. There is no end to practicing these foundation skills. Scales and notes आपका कभी पीछा नहीं छोड़ने वाले. Composition का कोई शॉर्टकट नहीं है. So keep practicing. Once you have mastered your scales, you can understand your chords better. Chords is a combination of 3 or more notes of a scale, played together simultaneously. Chords help and support melody or the tune you play. It brings out the right emotion or the mood to any melody. It also elevates the emotion of the song while tying it together. अब जैसे जिंदा हूँ यार काफी, मैं आपको सिर्फ मेलोडी के साथ सुनाता हूँ. और इसी मेलोडी को जब मैं कॉर्ड्स के साथ बजाऊंगा, उसका मूड ही अलग हो जाएगा. जिंदा हूँ यार काफी है, जिंदा हूँ यार काफी है. ये देखा आपने कि एक जो पूरी फीलिंग थी उस ट्यून की, उसको एलिवेट करके एक समा सा बांध दिया. ट्रायड्स आर द मोस्ट पॉपुलर फॉर्म ऑफ प्लेइंग योर कॉर्ड्स, जिसमें आप एक स्केल के फर्स्ट, थर्ड और फिफ्थ नोट्स को साथ में प्ले करते हो, which is 1, 2, 3 together. You can play these chords in whatever order. This is your C major, then this is your inversion 1, inversion 2. Well, yes, they are called inversions. Similarly, if you flatten the third note, now third note, this is your third note. If you flatten it, which is, it becomes a minor. The first and the fifth note remains constant. This becomes a minor. When chords are played in a series, it creates progressions. Progression से character आता है गानों में. One melody can have various types of progression. For example, Love you zindagi. This song, this particular melody can have various progressions. For example, जो मैंने अभी इस actual गाने में जो use किया है, वो है Love you zindagi. Love you zindagi. अभी मैं इसी ट्यून को कोई और प्रोग्रेशन के साथ भी गा सकता हूँ, जैसे कि Love you zindagi. So, मेलोडी से कॉर्ड्स फिगर आउट करने के लिए सबसे पहले ये देखना चाहिए कि कॉर्ड्स कहाँ चेंज होने चाहिए. कॉर्ड्स का चेंज होना डिपेंड्स ऑन द फ्लो ऑफ द मेलोडी एंड इट्स रिदम. ऑल्दो देयर इज नो सच रूल, यू कैन अप्लाई कॉर्ड्स एज पर योर हियरिंग एंड लाइकिंग, व्हाटएवर सूट्स बेस्ट टू योर म्यूजिक. गाना अगर सी मेजर स्केल में है तो उसकी कॉर्ड प्रोग्रेशन भी सी मेजर स्केल में ही होगी. कॉर्ड प्रोग्रेशंस कम फ्रॉम स्केल्स. सी मेजर स्केल में 7 नोट्स है, तो 7 ट्रायड्स है, जिनको आप अलग अलग परम्यूटेशन एंड कॉम्बिनेशंस में उसको यूज कर सकते हो. सो दिस इज लाइक 7 triads. And you can use this in different permutation combinations. इस तरह से आप it's up to you how you going to use your progressions in your song. Love You Zindagi का जो progression है, which is the 1, 5, 6, 4 progression. This is a progression which I really like. Actually, this is a very common progression. Worldwide ये हजारों गानों में use हो चुका है. But I still love this progression. Basically 1, 5, 6, 4 का मतलब है जिस scale का chord आप बजा रहे हो, पहले उसके first note का triad बजाना है, फिर उसके 5th note का, then the 6th, and then the 4th. This way. I also like the minor 1, 5, 6, 2 progression, which is 1, 5, 6, 2. Because of the way it moves, I love this. These progressions provide backing to the melodies in the song. Well, there is no right or wrong progressions. आप chord progressions के साथ experiment करके देखिए. जो आपके गाने के notes के साथ जाए, वो सही है. Experiments करना बहुत जरूरी है. One thing you need to take care of is that some chord progressions need a resolve for them to flow well. So root note पे आने से resolve मिलता है. Whether from G dominant 7 to C, which is, or F to C, or B flat to C. So when I'm playing a dominant chord in my progression, I give it a resolve by coming home to the chord of my root note, which is I'm home with C. Melody is the topmost layer in a song, whether it's a singer singing or an instrument playing. It's the tune. It is what is remembered. And this makes melody the king. It's a combination of high and low pitch with the duration of the sound. The best part is that you can create melody in any raga or scale. Melody consists of basically hook lines and something that people can sing and hum along. A good melody should transport the person to the right place and at the right time. The essential elements of any melody are the duration, which is how long you press a note, the timbre, which is the kind of sound you generate from your instrument or vocals. Then you have the pitch, which is basically the frequencies you cover. Transitioning between a high pitch to a low pitch sound creates a different feeling. एक गाना 3 चीज़ों का कॉम्बिनेशन होता है, लिरिक्स, सिंगिंग और मेलोडी. जब ये तीनों चीज़ सही तरह से बैठ जाते हैं, you get a memorable song, you get a great song. और ये हर बार अचीव करना is the toughest thing to do for any composer on this planet. मेरे दिमाग में मेलोडी हमेशा सबकॉन्शियसली आ जाती है, फिर मैं उसको रिकॉर्ड करता हूँ गा के, without lyrics, just do na 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 da 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 da, whatever gibberish I feel is right, I just record it. Let's look at a few melodies from my songs. जब मैं No One Killed Jessica पर काम कर रहा था, I was listening to a rag. I exactly don't remember the rag's name, but it goes something like this. Da 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 तो ये एक राग था. And I was driving and suddenly I started singing मेरा काट कलेजा दिल्ली, मेरा काट कलेजा दिल्ली, लह गई काट कलेजा दिल्ली, मुझे दिल्ली लह गई, which I quite liked, honestly speaking. Then it started building up in my head. This happened because I was listening to that rag. I knew I had to write a song on Delhi and add some rock feel to it. So इसके बाद I just carried inputs from the director of the film, director who is Rajkumar Gupta, and I just understood the situation right. What I understood from Rajkumar sir, that he wanted, and also even I felt the same, that we wanted to kickstart the film, jumpstart the film with a banger, like full high on energy. And so we thought of creating a rock track. And also, Rani Mukherjee's character was to be set up while this song was going on, while all the proceedings were happening in the scene. So now I started to think in that direction. सिंस मैंने रागा की खूब प्रैक्टिस की है और उन्हें इमोशनली समझा है, आई मैच्ड दोज डॉट्स एंड स्टार्टेड टू बिल्ड ऑन इंस्पिरेशन. कई बार चीज़ें इतनी स्ट्रेट फॉरवर्ड नहीं होती है, तो एक्सपेरिमेंटेशन बिकम्स द ओनली सोल्यूशन. मेलोडी आपके जहन में कभी भी कैसे भी आ सकती है, उस डायरेक्शन में सोचना ज़रूरी है, और जब भी कुछ म्यूजिकल आइडियाज़ आए तो वो रिकॉर्ड करना सही रहता है. वेल, फॉर द सॉन्ग मांझा, आई लिटरली woke up at 2 in the morning with this tune in my head. I don't know why, it was just playing in my head subconsciously. और immediately I searched for my phone और उसमें उसी रात को कैसे भी करके रिकॉर्ड कर लिया, because I did not want to lose it. And then the next day I went to the studio, I recalled that, and from there I built a song out of it. Ultimately, melody and in general, music is a feeling, and it comes from a lot of permutation and combinations. You'll make better melodies when you understand your scales and ragas properly. There is no trick except practice. In scales or ragas को practice करते करते, you will automatically associate emotions and feelings with them. And that is the key to make good melodies. Because then, whatever scale or progression you choose, you know where you will be going. मैं अभी भी रियाज करने की कोशिश करता हूँ जब भी वक्त मिले. I keep on improvising. Literally anything. मैं अभी भी स्केल्स प्रैक्टिस करता हूँ, नए नए प्रोग्रेशंस ट्राई करता हूँ. सिर्फ स्केल्स और कॉर्ड्स बजाना ही नहीं, उनकी फील एंड इमोशन समझना भी काफ़ी इंपॉर्टेंट है एक कंपोजर के लिए. मैं पियानो के सामने बैठ के कभी कभी कुछ भी करता हूँ, लिटरली कुछ भी करते रहता हूँ, until I find something interesting. और वो करते करते when I am like jamming, yes, literally I'm doing anything right now, like anything. So while I'm jamming and I'm doing something, sometimes I come across, sometimes I hit some amazing notes and I feel, this is nice. So your creativity will only come out when you keep experimenting with your instrument or your voice. So keep doing that. Actually, these things are very vast. But to become a successful musician, you need to know these things well. और ये practice से ही अच्छी होता है. Harmony is a combination of different notes used together to produce a pleasing effect. It is the sound of two or more notes heard simultaneously. It is an arrangement of notes placed together in such a way that it gives a fuller and wider sound to a melody. Main melody के background में दूसरे notes, chords और melodies बज रहे होते हैं. They help it sound better and support it. उसे harmony कहते हैं. So basically, it is a combination of pitches built around a central melody. Now, example के तौर पे, if I have to play a very simple melody like pum 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 pum, this is a very simple melody. Now, if I have to harmonize this, I just go to a thirds of the C major scale and do. It makes it a harmony. I can take another note. I can take like the seventh note of it, and I can make another harmony out of it. So it becomes like a seventh harmony to it. And when all this is played together or sung together or played by any instrument together, it gives you a fuller, beautiful effect. And in different pitches, from higher to mids to lows, you can harmonize these. A good harmonizing technique is when you harmonize your main melody. So traditionally, we use first, thirds and fifths to harmonize the song. Also, there's another way of harmonizing melodies is by using counter melodies. So, like for example, I have done this in Azadiya. In Azadiya, we have this section called Subha ki kirnon ko roke jo salake hai kahan. Now, this can be done traditionally with thirds and fifths. Subha ki kirnon ko roke jo salake hai kahan. And the fifths, Subha ki kirnon ko roke jo salake hai kahan. Now, this is your basic format of first, third, and fifth. Now, you can add a counter melody, which is just going on the upper layer, which could be anything. Which does not fall into this particular format. So, it's a counter melody. When we hear it together, it gives a very different and a very fuller effect. And both these melodies kind of lock into each other and give a beautiful harmonizing effect. Harmonies are different from chords if you say it. A chord progression will help you identify the harmony notes very effectively. Like if your progression is so if you have these 4 chords and whatever notes you are using, whatever notes you're singing of your melody, the harmony will come from these progressions. And this progression will guide you. The notes from these progressions will guide you to your harmony notes. एक गाने का अगर मेलोडी चल रहा है और उसके बैकग्राउंड में प्रोग्रेशन चल रहा है, these two things can help you identify the harmony. And of course, what scale you are in and which rag you are playing will also help in identifying the notes of harmonies. You can also say harmonies is a layer of counter melody played with the main melody. In Indian classical music, एक ही layer होता है. We don't have the concept of harmonies in Indian classical music. It's a very Western concept, basically. Harmonies in songs are provided by the singers or instruments. It is usually the wind instruments that dominate here. Horns are also used very often to give this effect. कभी-कभी आप harmony उसी instrument से देते हो जिससे आप melody बजा रहे हो. You can also have your progressions played on other instrument and vice versa. अगर आप डेव डी फिल्म का एक गाना सुनो, इसका नाम है दिल में जागी, इट्स sung by अनुषा मनी. It's got like a crazy harmonization going on because उसका जो पूरा मुखड़ा है, which repeats, which comes after the अंतरा, अगर वो आप ध्यान से सुनेंगे, उसको 3 पार्ट में हार्मोनाइज किया है, और पूरा मुखड़ा. और ये एक बहुत ही कॉन्शियस डिसीजन था क्योंकि इस गाने की जो प्रोग्रेशन थे, वो बहुत ही कॉम्प्लिकेटेड थे. तो मुझे मज़ा आ रहा था to harmonize this section to make it even more complicated actually and that sometimes in that complicated and difficult things it just sounds beautiful. Whatever, it sounded amazing to me and it really worked for me. और बहुत जगह harmonies are used in the hook sections of the song. Simple harmonies like I've done it in a song called Iktara, which are the many songs, but in Iktara if you hear गूंजा सा है कोई एक तारा एक तारा. There are a lot of layers of harmonies and different textures of harmonies I've used, which is sung by Amit Trivedi. आप देखोगे ये जो hook section है, it is so dense in the musicality. It is the punch of the song, and thus it is the most exciting section. In songs, the music usually always gets busy in the hook section. We also call it drop these days. Of course, drop is a different thing altogether, but yes, they kind of the drop or the hook is like the most exciting part of your song. So this is how melodies and harmonies work in tandem in a song. The key here is to experiment with the instrument you are most comfortable with and play around with it. आप जितना practice करोगे, आप उतना ही इसका मजा ले पाओगे. With this, we have completed this chapter. इससे पहले कि हम ताल को समझे, let's understand laya. Laya is a fixed time interval or the distance between each beat. For example, there is a natural laya found in rhythmic pulse of heartbeats and seconds of a clock. There are 3 types of layas in classical music. First, we have vilambit, which is slow. After this, we have madhya, which is medium, and the last one, drut, which is fast. Now let's understand tal. Tal is simply a cycle of beats with specific syllables, जिसे वेस्ट में हम rhythm भी कहते हैं. For example, the lesser the distance between the 2 beats, faster is the tempo. अगर मैं इसी के बीच के स्पेसेस कम कर दूं, तो इसका टेम्पो बढ़ जाएगा. Lay has many different components. We use the concept of time signature to define it. This is to specify how many beats there are in each measure. A measure is a bar. We count it like 1, 2, 3, 4, 2, 2, 3, 4, 3, 2, 3, 4, 4, 2, 3, 4. On how the music is to be counted. The time signatures are counted as 3x4, 4x4, 6x8, 7x8, etc. Most of the songs we hear are created in either 3x4, 4x4, 6x8, 7x8 time signatures. 4x4 is read as 4 beats per measure. As I said earlier, 1, 2, 3, 4, 2, 2, 3, 4. That's 4x4. 3x4 is 3 beats per measure. 1, 2, 3, 2, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 2, 2, 3. 6x8 is 6 beats per measure. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And so on. Bollywood and folk music extensively use the 6x8 time signature. Well, honestly speaking, composers don't think about time signatures upfront. Well, I don't think. The first thing as a composer you do is attack the melody. Whatever you're doing, the melody should resonate. Now, this will automatically lead to a scale, key, and time signature, which is the technical aspect. Like, for example, let me give you an example of the film called Lutera. In Lutera, there's a song called Savarlu, then there is a song called Ankahi, then there's a song called Zinda, yes, and Manmarzia. Now, all these four songs have different time signatures. Savarlu is on 6x8, Ankahi is in 4x4, Zinda is on 4x4, Manmarzia is on 7x8. So, that way, I had created the melody first. What came into my mind was the melody first, which automatically lent itself to go to these time signatures. Like for example, Savarlu की बात करें. Savarlu is 6x8. हवा के झोंके आज मौसमों से 1 2 3 4 5 6 1 2 3 4 5 6 1 2 3 4 5 6 1 2 3 4 5 6 Savarlu hai savar 1 2 3 4 5 6 1 2 3 4 5 6. Zinda is 4x4. Bam 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 bam. There's 1 2 3 4. Similarly, there's Manmarzia. Dil mein jage Manmarzia, Manmarzia. This is 7x8. 1 2 3 1 2 3 4 1 2 3 1 2 3 4 1 2 3 1 2 3 4 1 2 3 1 2 3 4. So knowing your tal lets you change time signature also in between the songs. For example, in the song called Chokra Jawan, we change the time signature from 6x8 to 4x4. Like the first part of the song, choo choo karta hai garya arta da 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 takita 1 2 3 4 5 6 1 2 3 4 5 6. That's 6x8, and then it moves into choo choo karta hai garya arta bado mein ta 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 1 2 3 4. It moved into 4x4. So जो हमने 6 काउंट किया था इस टेम्पो पर, हम इसी टेम्पो पर उसको स्ट्रेच करके 4 काउंट करेंगे by slowing it down. When we do this, नए टाइम सिग्नेचर पर एक नया रिदम आएगा. अब उसका क्या करना है वो डिसीजन आपका है. The switch is instantaneous, but we make it mellow with the use of instruments. जैसे यहाँ पर टेम्पो सेम है, but टाइम सिग्नेचर चेंज हो चुका है. सुनने वाले के लिए बहुत जर्की साउंड करेगा if this is not done with care. But because I have talented musicians by my side, it is not noticeable. And naturally, everyone has a sense of rhythm and it just flows through you. Like for example, when somebody sings happy birthday, what's your natural instinct? You just clap on time. Happy birthday to you. You'll see the entire, 10, 50, 100 people, whoever is there, they'll be all on time clapping on that song. This is regardless of whether you are a musician or not. You have this inherent rhythm sense in you. You can improve this sense further by playing with your fingers on a surface when a music plays, be it a table, be it a slate, और या फिर एक्चुअल तबला ही क्यों ना हो. इससे आपके अंदर का रिदम डेवलप होगा. In fact, whenever you are practicing an instrument or vocals, always use a metronome to improve your sense of tal. Now let's move on to tempo. Tempo is nothing but the speed of the song. It is considered to be the pulse of the music. Tempo has a massive impact on the style and feel of music you are creating. For example, any dance music will have a faster tempo, whereas a ballad will have a slower tempo. It's as simple as that. A tempo is measured by BPM or beats per minute. The BPM here depends on you. जो भी आपको feel दे रहा है, go according to that. Dance music का BPM is generally over 120, whereas it can go as low as 60s in ballads. Commercial dance music and hip hop have BPMs that range from 85 to 110. Changing the tempo in one song can drastically change the experience as it gives a completely different feeling. In the song Iktara, I brought the tempo down for a sadder piece. Had I played the same melody at a different tempo, I would have produced different emotions. Now let's take a song from my film Bombay Velvet, Aam Hindustani. There's a song called Aam Hindustani, sung by Shefali Alvarez. It has a lot going in that. It's a 6-minute long song. अब जो भी टेम्पो में सीखना है आपको वो उस गाने में है because it has a lot of tempo changes, time signature changes and also scale changes. The song demanded dynamic changes and texture and tempo changes because it was the introduction song for the film. And thus it had to represent all the ups and downs of the film and all the layers of the film. और इन सब को एक ही टेम्पो में दिखाना would not have been a wise choice. Thus the song has both gradual and sudden tempo changes, which brought character to the song and सुनने वाले को एक ऐसा फील आता है कि this song is going somewhere. जो sudden tempo changes है वो समझ आ जाएंगे आपको तुरंत, but gradual changes के लिए आपको बहुत ध्यान से सुनना पड़ेगा उस गाने को. Dynamics is the composer's way of conveying certain emotions by having the music played either loud or soft. This could also be produced by having gradual or sudden changes. This includes कब कौन से instruments loud या soft होने चाहिए. Dynamics के साथ खेलने से गानों की पूरी feel बदल जाती है. But there are some generalizations which can be drawn. जैसे loud music can convey intense, scary, energetic and dramatic emotions, whereas softer music will have gentleness, sorrow, pain, etc. In Western classical music, the terms used to describe dynamics are pianissimo, piano, forte, fortissimo, and crescendo. Now, what is this? Pianissimo means under this, the music has to be played very, very softly. The whole orchestra plays the music very, very softly. It's like very, very softly. Then we have piano written on it. This is slightly louder, but still soft. Then we have forte. Loud sounds are called forte. And then you have fortissimo. Now fortissimo is like, it explodes. It's extremely loud sound. Like, it becomes that loud. Sound that gets louder from soft is crescendo. Like it starts softer, it keeps going up, it's going up. And the opposite of crescendo is decrescendo. From loud, it gets softer. Dynamics are very broadly used in Western classical music. In our Hindi songs, it has a completely different definition. But still, in the song Azadiya from Udan, I've tried to use dynamics in my own way. It starts off with pianissimo, which is very, very soft, and by the end, it bursts into crescendo. Let me tell you in more detail how I created Azadiya from Udan. Azadiya was made after watching the whole scene. उन visuals की जो dynamics है, जहाँ बंदा आ रहा है, बंदा जा रहा है, the character eventually achieves victory at the end. तो उस mood के हर एक second को मैंने consider किया. This automatically brought a beautiful dynamic structure to the whole song. So if you see the graph, if you see the graph of the song Azadiya, it's like it starts off with a small guitar, shakers, piano, and then the voice comes, and then the sitar comes in. And sitar comes in, and slowly you see a little moving towards upwards when the chorus comes in. Subha ki kirno ko roke. And even in the chorus, it keeps rising because I keep adding layers of chorus, layers of harmonies. So it gets broader, it gets bigger. And it keeps getting broader, bigger, and bang, you have drums coming in. You have like the big section coming in with the distortion, with the drums, and it's like all going, all guns blazing. It's going there. So that's like a fuller, bigger. There's like a full crescendo of the song that happens, and then Azadi happens, which is the title of the song. So it's like this is the highest peak of the song when Azadiya comes in, and then it drops again. It drops again to Subha Ki Kirno, and it drops again, and Subha Ki Kirno. This time the chorus is also even softer. They are even subtle, and then it moves. Then it moves very, very smoothly, and then again you see the scale changes, and drums kick in, distortion kick in, and it goes to another peak when Kahani Khatam Hai Ya Shuruaat Hone Ko Hai comes back, which we had started off right in the beginning. Kahani Khatam Hai Ya Shuruaat Hone Ko Hai comes right in the beginning of the film, and we kind of bring it back at the climax so that it bookends the entire film. So that's how the whole song has this very beautiful dynamic structure, which has actually come from the scene, from the situation, because that song was composed and created after watching the visuals. Now let me share with you guys one more example from this another film called Blackmail. गाने का नाम है निंद्रा दिया. Now in this song, it starts off very somber, very soft, very smooth. And the situation is, Irfan Khan brings flowers for his wife while coming back home from office. He just decides to surprise his wife one fine day. And what happens? He finds her cheating on him. So जब वो शुरुआत में flowers लेकर जा रहा है, तब गाना बहुत ही soft, romantic सा और बहुत ही प्यारा सा है, ऐसा subtle सा, smooth है. Now this continues even when he sees his wife, because he still doesn't know there's another guy with her. So in the film, you'll observe that he has a habit of peeping at his wife through a hole. And this time also he's going to do that. He does that, and he sees his wife through the hole, and she's all beautiful and it's all good, because he hasn't seen the guy yet in the bedroom. And the moment the shift happens when he actually sees the guy in the bedroom with his wife, that's where the whole soundscape changes. The song that I had started off very somber, very soft, very smooth, the entire dynamics of the song begins to change there. If you hear the song in totality, you see a major dynamic change that happens in the song. From a very soft, simple ballad, it turns into a very aggressive, head-banging rock kind of a song. In just one song, we have like a dynamic range which is shifting from 0 to 100, like that range it has. So playing with dynamics can help you when you have to convey vast differences in feelings and emotions through one song. Now let's talk about texture of a song. What is a texture? The texture deals with the overall quality of the sound in your music. And hence, it depends on how sound is organized in your arrangement. A texture is thin when there are less components in your music. For example, if a song has just vocals and guitar, it is called thin. But if it has a lot of instruments, it would be called thick. But it is not just about the instruments. It is the combination of melody, harmony, and rhythm that forms a texture. Even if I'm playing a melody on the piano, like any melody, so this is like a thin texture. There's nothing happening. Just one piano melody that I'm playing. I add chords to it. I'm adding a more texture to it. I'll add a counter melody to it. And I harmonize it. Of course, too many things with two hands I can't do. Then I'll harmonize it. I'll add more layers to it. So it keeps getting thicker. तो ये सारी चीज़ों से layers आते हैं, and by addition of these layers, गानों का texture बदलता है. They become thicker. There are 3 types of textures. Number 1 is the monophonic texture. In this texture, your music has a single melody. Basically, nothing else, just one layer of music. Number 2 is the homophonic texture. This is the most popular texture in music. Mostly सारे गाने homophonic texture में ही बनते हैं. A homophonic texture consists of layers of music. आपका main instrument एक बात कर रहा है, फिर एक और instrument आके कुछ और बात करता है. सब अपने अपने beautiful textures add करते जाते हैं. On a single melody, if you add chords and harmonies, it creates a different texture. One layer grabs your attention and the other layer is hanging out in the background. This gives you texture of the overall sound of that music. And then there is a polyphonic texture. Polyphonic is when there are multiple independent layers happening at the same time. This happens when you have different layers of different melodies playing over each other. For example, it's a very simple basic example. In the song Iktara, right towards the end, you have three melodies actually playing simultaneously. Piano पर एक solo चल रहा है, then Kavita Seth अपना आलाप कर रही है, and Amitabh Bhattacharya is doing his own thing. So all three together are playing at the same time in one place. So तीनों अपने अलग-अलग दिशा में अलग-अलग melodies दे रहे हैं. This is a very basic example of polyphonic texture, but it can be very complex as well. Like for example, in the song "Aam Hindustani" from Bombay Velvet, I have in the just in the beginning, right in the beginning of the song, I have lots going. There is it starts with monophonic, and it goes into homophonic, and then polyphonic. And if you see here, there's a constant rise in tempo also. So it's too exciting. Let's hear it. इसमें आपको variety of चीज़ें मिलेंगी in terms of all the technical things and aspects that we're talking about. You'll find it right there in this song. Composers use different textures in their songs to make it sound interesting. Sometimes you can also have all three textures in the song. For example, I just played Aam Hindustani. So what's going on and how much stuff is going on in a piece of music has a huge effect on how it's going to be heard and perceived. For example, if you hear any Ajay Atul songs, they are very full, they're very thick. There's a lot happening in it. It's like busy. And if you listen to old A.R. Rahman sir songs, they'll be very sparse, very empty, just a few elements coming here and there. And the beauty is both Ajay Atul and A.R. Rahman have their own impact and their music is beautifully communicating. आप कभी-कभी सेम इमोशन को एक्सप्रेस करने के लिए भी अलग-अलग टेक्सचर्स का इस्तेमाल कर सकते हैं. Texture is a mix of different sounds organized in a certain way that comes together to form music. So both dynamics and texture help you make your music more expressive. एक गाने को पूरी तरह से एंजॉय करने और उसकी टेक्निकलिटीज को ऑब्जर्व करने के प्रोसेस को इंटेंटफुल लिसनिंग कहते हैं. इट हेल्प्स यू एंजॉय एंड अप्रिशिएट म्यूजिक मोर. एंड नॉट जस्ट दिस, इट विल हेल्प यू टेक इंस्पिरेशन फ्रॉम द काइंड ऑफ म्यूजिक यू वांट टू क्रिएट. मोरओवर, आप म्यूजिक की बारीकियों को जितना समझेंगे, आप अपने म्यूजिक को उतना ही ज्यादा एंजॉय करोगे. यू विल स्टार्ट अंडरस्टैंडिंग म्यूजिक एट अ डीपर लेवल, which will push your creative boundaries further. The first thing that hits you when you listen to any song is the melody, and second is the lyrics. Once you develop this process of intentful listening, it won't just be the melody and lyrics that hits you. You will start appreciating the instrumentation, maybe even the tempo change, the texture of the song, or dynamic changes in the music. Intentful listening is about going inside the layers of what you are listening to. Listening intently will train your ears, and good ears help a musician become better. People with great ears have music in their bones. It plays a huge role in dissecting different genres. एक untrained ear के लिए Cardi B और Infected Mushrooms same से sound करेंगे. Only a good ear will understand the difference by understanding the components of a genre. Tomorrow, if I'm asked to create hip-hop music, I can't use a tabla, a pakawaj, or even acoustic drums. I'll have to understand the layers, the sounds, the instrumentation, the technical know-how of the arrangement in hip-hop music in comparison to classical or techno or trance music. And all of this will come from excessive listening and learning. Now, some practices that you can also imbibe in order to begin intentful listening. They are, number one, identify the time signature. Beat पे tap करके rhythm का sense gauge करो and count करके figure out if the song is in 4/4, 3/4, 2/4 और कुछ और. उस गाने में कौन से इंस्ट्रूमेंट बज रहे हैं, कौन से इंस्ट्रूमेंट पे क्या कैसे बज रहा है, उनका रोल क्या है, वो हारमोनी दे रहे हैं कि काउंटर मेलोडी बजा रहे हैं, पॉलीफोनिक टेक्सचर प्रोवाइड कर रहे हैं. ऐसी बहुत सी चीज़ें हैं जो आप नोटिस कर सकते हो. फॉर एग्जाम्पल, जैज में वॉकिंग बेसलाइन होती है विच जस्ट मूव्स और उसमें ठहराव नहीं होता. ब्लूज में इट इज द फिफ्थ फ्लैट नोट दैट क्रिएट्स द इमोशन। एक और चीज जो आप नोटिस कर सकते हो वो है यूज ऑफ सिंथेटिक साउंड्स, जैसे गिटार पैचेस या सम अदर साउंड्स व्हिच हैव बीन यूज्ड फ्रॉम सैम्पलिंग अ साउंड। You will learn more about this in the instruments and the sounds chapter. You can listen to the vocals of a singer, उसकी pitch changes, कुछ हरकतें जो उन्होंने बहुत अच्छी ली हो, maybe their range. You can focus on how they beautify their vocals. हर सिंगर गानों में अपनी छाप छोड़ते हैं, आपको वो भी समझ में आने लगेगा। हर म्यूजिक एक टाइम और प्लेस से रिलेटेड होता है। फॉर एग्जाम्पल, अगर तुम्हें 50s के जैज जैसा म्यूजिक बनाना हो तो इट्स इंपॉर्टेंट टू इंटेंटली लिसन टू इट एंड आइडेंटिफाई व्हाट इंस्ट्रूमेंट्स, रिदम्स, स्केल्स make it sound like the 50s jazz. You'd want to listen to the jazz artists of that time, that era, and understand the technicalities of their music. जब मुझे बॉम्बे वेलवेट के लिए म्यूजिक बनाना था, मुझे रियलाइज हो गया था कि वो 50s and 60s की कहानी है। Now, during that period, jazz was all over Bombay. There was a prominent jazz culture around. I intently listened to them on loop while paying attention to all the ingredients. उनमें क्या इंस्ट्रूमेंट यूज हुए हैं। जैसे I noticed they used double bass, drums and piano, and horn section and string section also played a huge role. Now when you want to recreate, आपको ये सारे एलिमेंट्स को ध्यान में रख कर सोचना होता है, मगर इंपॉर्टेंट ये है कि कुछ नया और रिफ्रेशिंग बनाया जाए। That's what I did in Bombay Velvet. So the process of listening intently make you appreciate the music you hear more and can serve as an inspiration when you create your own music. Everybody has their own thought process. आपको पता भी नहीं होगा पर आपका खुद का भी एक प्रोसेस है सोचने का, और सबका प्रोसेस अलग होता है सोचने का। There is no set pattern कि this is how one should think. It is creativity. It can come from anywhere. मुझे आइडियाज़ कभी भी किसी भी समय आ जाते हैं, like literally any time. Maybe because I am always surrounded by music. तो subconsciously हमारा दिमाग भी म्यूजिकल आइडियाज़ देने लगता है। For this to happen, it is very important to listen and experiment with music in daily life. Music में immerse रहना ज़रूरी है। As a film composer, it is important to stick to director's vision, be involved with the story, and understand the world it belongs to. और इसी वजह से I keep thinking about those things and how music would complement it and help the narrative. कभी-कभी लोग समझते हैं कि उस कहानी के अंदर मैं इतना engross हो चुका होता हूँ कि मुझे उसके हिसाब से म्यूजिक के आइडियाज आते हैं दिमाग में, which is true to an extent. But when I dig deep into myself, I know there is a lot more to it. सिर्फ स्टोरी या सिचुएशन या मूड या कैरेक्टर या डायरेक्टर या ये सब चीज़ों से म्यूजिक नहीं बनता. It takes a lot more. It's not just my immersion into the director's vision or the story of the film. मैं जो immersed हूँ इतने सालों से वो म्यूजिक में हूँ. म्यूजिक इज़ माई वर्ल्ड, माई लव, माई पैशन, और मैं उसी में रहा हूँ अभी तक. फिल्मों के लिए म्यूज़िक हो या इंडिपेंडेंट म्यूज़िक, ये सब एक बाय प्रोडक्ट है मेरे लिए. सो इट्स नॉट दैट सिचुएशन और द डायरेक्टर जिनकी वजह से मेरा म्यूज़िक बनता है. मेरे दिमाग में म्यूज़िक के आइडियाज़ बिना किसी रेफरेंस के, बिना किसी स्टोरी के भी आते हैं. सो इट्स नॉट देम, इट्स द कंपोजर, इट्स मी. मैंने लाइफ में ना जाने कितने घंटे म्यूज़िक को दिए. Now it has reduced because of my family and other things. But when I was starting out, I was giving in countless hours because कुछ और मुझे नज़र आता ही नहीं था. I used to wake up और उठते से ही सबसे पहले मैं अपने बेडरूम में ही या तो हॉल में I used to play the system and I used to play music and whatever I was doing, morning chores जो होते हैं, ब्रश करना, whatever, नाश्ता करना, म्यूज़िक चल रहा है and I'm doing all that. Then मैं गाड़ी में जाता था, drive to the studio, which could be around 40-45 minutes. Obviously in the car also I used to play music. Then I used to go to the studio. Now studio में तो music पे ही काम करना है. So that 8, 9, 10 hours whatever I am working on in the studio, I'm around music. And then after coming back, same process. कार में बैठे वही 45 मिनट तक फिर से कुछ म्यूजिक चला दिया. घर पहुँचने के बाद खाना वाना खाया, थोड़ा चिल किया, and then back to the headphones and listen to whatever music. So It's like literally immersing yourself 24 hours into music, whether you're practically doing it, whether you're listening to it, whether you're practicing. So there is a lot going on. क्योंकि इनिशियल ईयर्स में, शुरुआती दौर में इतना टाइम इन्वेस्ट करना तो बनता ही है इफ़ यू वांट टू बिकम अ मास्टर. हैविंग सेड दैट, sometimes you also need to take a break from music so that you're refreshed and rejuvenated. That is also very important to come back fresh. So one more thing I would like to add, that don't restrict yourselves. When I was growing up and I was listening to each and everything, all kinds of music that was being produced under the sun on this planet. So I did not close myself. So while you're doing that, you'll kind of recognize what you like, what style of music you like, and you can follow that, and that you can make that your path. But still, till date, I listen to anything. I could listen to jazz someday, I could listen to hip hop someday, I could listen to anything, whatever. It just has to be music. Sometimes I'm asked to make music in a very different style and genre. Now, this might intimidate a lot of people, but when it happens to me, I just go for it. If you see my body of work, मैंने बहुत सी फिल्मों में अलग-अलग टाइप का म्यूजिक बनाया. But I was never stuck with what I was doing. I have always done my research well when I try to make something new. And I think that has helped. But sometimes when I'm working on a situation, a given situation, and a brief is there and I'm starting to work on it, और मैंने एक पहली धुन बनाई, ऐसा बहुत बार होता है. It happens with everybody. So the first, you will react to that situation, and your first instinct, according to you, will be always right. And it always, most of the time it works. But most of the time what happens, the directors or producers might say, "Hey, yaar, maza nahi aaya. It's not working." So it can happen. It has happened to a lot of us. It can happen twice. It can happen 3 times, many times. You have to keep creating. So in such a scenario, everything remains the same. The director's philosophy, the story, the character, सब कुछ same रहता है. But still, you have to come up with new ideas and new compositions for the same situation. बट फिर कभी कभी रिक्वेस्ट भी आती है कि जो मैंने म्यूज़िक बनाया है उसके अलावा कुछ और भी बनाओ. तो उस तरह की सिचुएशन भी आते हैं. बट इसमें भी अगर कोई ऐसे में आपसे बार बार नया म्यूज़िक बनवाता रहे, देन अ कंपोजर शुड नॉट थिंक कि उसका म्यूज़िक बेकार है. इट इज़ मोर अबाउट द अदर पर्सन या देन जस्ट योर सेल्फ और योर म्यूज़िक. एक फिल्म कंपोजर के साथ ऐसी सिचुएशन बहुत नॉर्मल है. It's very, very, very normal. बहुत बार situations like this can create a block because multiple minds are working on it. So you shouldn't blame yourself because there are too many other brains also working on the same thing. So it's a process. There will be times as a composer कि आप जो म्यूज़िक बना रहे हो उसे आप खुद ही खुश नहीं रहोगे या आपको उसे सुन के उतना मज़ा नहीं आएगा. This happens because for various factors. Of course, the environment around you, and there are a lot of reasons, a lot of factors behind it. But then let's not go there. Inspiration or motivation to make something amazing plays a huge role to get through such situations. When you are not inspired enough for whatever personal, financial or any other reason, it's going to get very difficult. So you need to have an unadulterated, blank, clean mind to make good music. Now, for example, during lockdown, the environment was not conducive. Everything was kind of closed, and the initial days, nobody knew where things were going, what was going on. It was a little scary. So those things kind of also affect you. And I was still working from home, and I was actually not happy with the music that I was creating. But there was no other option. There was no choice. I kept creating. I kept on going. I know. I created something. I threw it. Trash. बना रहा हूँ. Trash. मज़ा ही नहीं आ रहा. Because आज मैं बना रहा हूँ, 2 दिन बाद सुनता हूँ, मज़ा नहीं आ रहा. Because it's the environment also. Sometimes it just blocks you somewhere. So एक गाना बनाने का प्रोसेस एक्चुअली बहुत लंबा होता है. मुझे जब भी कोई ब्रीफ मिलती है, मुझे 2 दिन 3 दिन लग जाते हैं उस जोन में आने के लिए. उसकी स्क्रिप्ट पढ़ना, उसकी कहानी पढ़ना, उसकी कैरेक्टर्स को समझना, all this takes time. Now, for example, right now I'm composing for a film which is a sports biopic. तो मैंने स्पोर्ट्स देखना शुरू कर दिया है. मैंने स्पोर्ट्स पर्सन को स्टडी करना शुरू कर दिया है. कभी कभी रेफरेंसेस देख लेता हूँ फॉर एंथम्स लाइक चक दे इंडिया और many other. Then I decide वैसे करना है कि नहीं करना है. That's up to composer's choice. Now, jamming with the lyricist often helps to come up with some great music. Sometimes they send me lyrics, or at times I send them a piece of music they can write on. मगर mostly जब lyrics नहीं होते, I focus on making the melodies of the song first. Once I get into the zone, मैं पूरे 4 मिनट का स्ट्रक्चर रेडी कर लेता हूँ. इंट्रो हो गया, अंतरा हो गया, इंटरल्यूड हो गया, आउट्रो हो गया, या जो भी एलिमेंट्स है, एक बेसिक ढांचा जो होता है, ढांचा 4 मिनट का, वो पूरा स्ट्रक्चर मैं वो रेडी कर लेता हूँ इन माई माइंड एंड ऑल्सो इन माई सिस्टम. उसके बाद एक्चुअल चीज़ें शुरू होती हैं, where you take the outline of the song to the final product. Now, how we do that is what we are going to discuss in detail in the following lessons. गाने बहुत तरीकों से कंपोज होते हैं with different methods of composition. However, I believe the first and the foremost step is to be inspired and to be motivated enough to do it. You have to always thrive on inspiration. For me, I love traveling. I always prefer going out instead of staying in one place and composing, because उससे दिमाग में मुझे हमेशा अच्छे आइडियाज आते हैं. जैसे मनमर्जिया जो फिल्म है, उसमें मैंने बहुत सारे गाने फ्लाइट में बनाए. Actually, most of my albums and the work that I have done so far have been done in transit. For this reason, मैं हमेशा अपना लैपटॉप और एक अच्छा मीडी कीबोर्ड साथ लेकर चलता हूँ. एयर होस्टेस को मैं बोल देता हूँ कि मुझे डिस्टर्ब ना करे, उनको मुझे जो देना चाहिए होता है वो पहले दे के जाए, and then I just get immersed in my work. Even during Mission Mangal, there was this one song that I was doing called दिल में मार्स है. वो that entire song वो मैंने फ्लाइट में ही बनाया while I was in transit. So when you are invested in music, you are always thinking about it, and so it makes sense to have my laptop and MIDI with myself at all times. Also, your mood plays a very important role in the kind of music you'll come up with. उसकी lyrics और ट्यून भी अलग-अलग तरीके से आ सकती है आपके दिमाग में. Sometimes you might get the words, other times आपके दिमाग में ट्यून आ जाएगी. मेरे साथ अक्सर ये होता है कि मुझे लिरिक्स और ट्यून साथ में आ जाते हैं. जैसे कि नैना दादा क्या कसूर हो गया, जिंदा हूँ यार काफ़ी हो गया, नमो नमो शंकरा, दुनिया बड़ी गोल है. सो वाइल कंपोजिंग और क्रिएटिंग द मेलोडी, ये वर्ड्स भी कभी कभी कहीं से आ जाते हैं. जस्ट द फर्स्ट लाइन मे बी, आई एम नॉट सेइंग द एंटायर लिरिक्स, आई एम नॉट सेइंग द एंटायर सॉन्ग, बट नमो नमो नन्ना नन्ना नमो नमो नन्ना, दैट काइंड ऑफ अ थिंग, और समथिंग 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 नैना दा क्या कसूर वे कसूर. तो ऐसे करते करते कभी कभी वर्ड्स भी साथ में ही आ जाते हैं वाइल कंपोजिंग. तो इसलिए व्हेन आई एम वर्किंग विद एनी लिरिसिस्ट, I kind of give them this whatever hook or whatever line I have come up with. उनको मैं साथ में दे देता हूँ कि भाई ये भी आया है. It's up to you if you want to keep it, use it, don't use it. So that's completely up to lyricists. Most of the times they keep it. Coming back to the state of mind that I spoke about, when we were working on the film Queen, the director of the movie, Vikas Bal, he took me and the lyricist Anvita ji to Amsterdam and Paris. We didn't work there at all. That was like a full paid holiday for us. We just were, it was like around 8 to 10 days we were in Amsterdam and Paris, and we were having a blast. We were just roaming around and going places here and there, and we were just having a great time. And when we returned back, our mind was really fresh, and that put us in a very happy space. So we came back to India, and Anvita and I decided to go to Goa. And once we reached Goa, because we were so fresh and happy, and Goa makes you even more happier and fresher, so we kind of finished 8 songs in just 5 days. Like completely done and dusted. It's gone. Like 8 songs done in 5 days, and those 8 songs are right there in the album, what you just hear. So it was probably maybe the state of mind, maybe the energy of the entire group, the travel bit, everything kind of played a huge role for me. When you are composing your music, and you have your lyrics in front of you, or a part of it maybe, just maybe 2 lines, it can help you compose melodies faster. आप उसके थ्रू कुछ ना कुछ सोचते सोचते दिमाग में एक ट्यून बना सकते हैं, and then you build your song according to that. For example, in Emotional Atyachar, Anurag sir, he just called me in the night one fine day, and he just said, take a paper and write something. And I wrote something, I don't remember exactly what it was, but something yaar, Emotional Atyachar. And that's it. And he said कि अभी कुछ बना इस पे. So that time I was blank. Obviously, I was in some friends' play, watching some cricket match, India, Australia, chal raha tha, pata nahi kya tha. So at that time, I just kept it in my pocket and I forgot about it. Now, that was playing in my head. And of course, the next day onwards, this term emotional attachar kind of was playing somewhere in my head. I think while in sleep, because you are in that zone and it's playing in a subconscious mind, you kind of start thinking in that direction only. And things start working accordingly. In your head also somehow it's amazing science. I don't know how to explain this, but things start just working in your head. And then I started composing in my head with this. Da 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 ye tune aa gayi thi, tera emotional atyachar. It kind of fit in really nicely. It hit me that this has to be the hook of the song. From there, I made the prelude, verse, cross, and then I jumped to the chorus. And from here, everything fell into place for me. I was like, wow. And the whole structure kind of was ready in a day or two. So I was very happy. So there are many ways in which you can compose. That was just one phrase, emotional attachar. But sometimes you'll have an entire lyrics sheet in front of you. For example, Ik Kudi, which is the poetry written by Shiv Kumar Batalvi Saab, I had the entire poetry with me. And in fact, it was like a 4-pager. It was like a proper 4-pager poetry. Now, if I had to compose that entire 4 pages, it would have been like 20-minute long song, which you cannot have in a film. At the most, 3.5 minutes we can have. So with the agreement with the director, Abhishek Chaubey, I said, sir, you cannot use the entire 4 pages. You'll have to select the right verses, and then accordingly I'll compose. So we got the right verses, Mukuda Antara, jo bhi we wanted. We got that, and I started composing on that. Sometimes you will come with the melody first, and sometimes both will happen together. These things will come naturally to you. And the key is that you need to be invested in music for this to happen. You can choose any instrument to compose music. It varies from composer to composer. पुराने ज़माने में तो लोग तानपुरे के साथ कंपोज करते थे. I often compose without anything, just using vocals. Like whatever comes to my mind, मैं record करता हूँ अपने phone पर, and then work on it through my keys later on. Earlier, people used to write. आजकल तो कंप्यूटर में ही प्रोग्राम कर लेते. Mozart and Beethoven would compose by dipping a pen into ink and write notations. As times changed, tools changed too. अभी DAW पर ही चीज़ें हो जाती है. Now what is DAW? DAW is a digital audio workstation. This is my DAW, Logic. People are composing music from their bedrooms with the help of just one laptop. ज़्यादातर लोग पियानो, गिटार या हारमोनियम पर कंपोज करते हैं. आप वायलिन, सितार या फ्लूट का भी इस्तेमाल कर सकते हो. But they are lead and solo instruments. And their job is to play solo music. And that makes structuring a little bit difficult. But piano mein you can play chords, harmonies along with the melodies. Guitar maybe you can strum and play your chords. I personally prefer a keyboard because it provides a much easier accompaniment to my vocals. I can sing and play easily with the help of keyboard. Like la 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 la. Basically. अब जैसे मैं यहाँ गा भी रहा हूँ और कंपोज भी कर रहा हूँ. Likewise, harmonium is also a very good option while composing and singing. The first idea you get is the melody. कभी कभार arrangement के भी idea आ सकते हैं. So once you get it in your head, record it using your vocals on your phone so it doesn't get lost. उसके बाद you experiment and ideate further by playing on an instrument. From there you keep on experimenting until you reach somewhere where it feels correct. फिर जो best लगता है, you can give it a structure. For example, like one fine night at 2 in the morning, I woke up and I started humming. This whole thing came in my head while I was asleep. I don't know how, I don't know from where. So I immediately took my phone, which was lying right next to me, recorded this tune. Next day I went to the studio and then I sat on the key and I started exploring. I started exploring the tune and I realized, of course, it was an E major key. It was on this key. E major scale. And then from there I went on and I started exploring and started working on the intro and antras, so that because it was beautifully flowing in my head and it was very fresh, so I didn't want to lose out on anything. The whole process of making a song involves experimentation. It is all about coming up with something, figuring out how it fits. If it does, you go ahead with it. If it doesn't, you dump it and start again. The whole process is about iterating and experimenting till you find something that feels complete. और यही करते करते you reach somewhere until the pieces are worth recording. And धीरे धीरे, before you know, it becomes a song. मैंने melodies mostly दो तरीकों से बनाई हैं. Either they come in pieces or together. जैसे मैंने बहुत पहले एक कोको कोला के लिए एड जिंगल बनाया था. उसमें मेरे पास सिर्फ एक इनिशियल मेलोडी थी. अब मैं उसे ही गुनगुना रहा था और वो मुझे सही लग रही थी. आई वॉज काइंड ऑफ एंजॉइंग दैट, आई वॉज लविंग दैट. बट उसके आगे का मुझे समझ नहीं आ रहा था until I had the lyrics in front of me. और जो नेक्स्ट लाइन्स थी उस लिरिक्स में पहले थी कि किसी को स्माइल देना, किसी को खुश कर जाना, अगर ये सब क्रेजी है, अगर ये सब क्रेजी है, हाँ मैं क्रेजी हूँ. तो अगर मैं फर्स्ट टू लाइन्स, किसी को स्माइल देना, किसी को खुश कर जाना, अगला मैंने जब वर्ड्स पढ़े, अगर ये सब क्रेजी है, हाँ मैं क्रेजी हूँ, तो देन एंटायर jingle was kind of ready in a moment. So lyrics also help you move further ahead when you are coming up with melodies. But कभी कभी तो पूरी की पूरी मेलोडी ही आ जाती है, जैसे इन केस ऑफ इकतारा. अब I was boating in Lonavala actually, and I had a brief about wake up set at that time, and I was thinking, my mind was working in that zone. अब वो पूरा का पूरा इकतारा का जो धुन है वो मेरे दिमाग में उस वक्त बोट में बैठे बैठे आ गया था. Thankfully I had my phone with me. I recorded it immediately on my phone, started working on it. उसके बाद I built the structure and the arrangement, and somehow we kind of got two different versions out of it. In our Hindi film songs, the most common structure that we follow is the structure of Mukda and Antara. Now, Mukda is the opening bit of the song. It's your face of the song. That's why it's called Mukda. So, it's the opening bit, and the melody that follows later, it's a completely different melody, completely different structure of melody. That's your Antara. It comes right in the center, in the middle of the song. And it, again, connects back to the Mukda. So, we have this Mukda Antara format, which you all are aware about this structure. So, once you have your Mukda and Antara in the song ready, so you need other elements. And what I mean by other elements means, you're not going to start your song just with the Mukda like, Ore manva tu to bavara hai. You need something, you need some sort of a prelude which will lead you to this Mukda. So you kind of create an intro melody, which is a prelude to Mukda. And then there's an intro melody, then there is a interlude one, which is a gap between a Mukda and the Antara. And then there's the outro, which is your end of the song. You call it coda. So these are the structures that you follow, which gives you a complete arrangement, a complete structure of a full song, close to 3 to 4 minute long song. And अभी तो एक अंतरा हो गया. Usually पुराने ज़माने में we used to have 2, 3 and sometimes 4 antaras. So it was like a prelude, then a Mukda, then a music 1. The interlude 1 used to be called music 1, and we call it M1. There used to be a M1, then Antara, then M2, then again Antara, M3, again Antara, and M4, and the coda in the end. So the structures also have been evolving as time is passing by. All this is achieved when you are experimenting and playing with your song, playing with your instrument, playing with the ideas that you have. And most of the times there are composers who create the Mukda and Antara, and then there are arrangers, a different set of people who come and do the entire structuring of the song, where they decide what's going to be the prelude, what's going to be the interlude, and so on, so on, and so forth. So for me, once I have my initial piece of music, I begin to write my song in detail. I think इसे क्या structure दे सकते हैं? क्या intro होना चाहिए? क्या verse होना चाहिए? क्या chorus होना चाहिए? क्या interlude होना चाहिए? क्या coda होना चाहिए? क्या outro होना चाहिए? And how to finish the song, वगैरह वगैरह. So when you are doing this, you will either lay down the structure first with all the structural elements, with the intro, antara, prelude, etc., or you will first decide the musicality of these elements and then structure your song. It is ultimately up to the composer. In सब के अलावा, you can also compose and create structures by jamming with several musicians, with a band maybe, with a group of musicians. You can sit and jam and you can ideate with everybody and create structures of your song. Every composer is free to compose their songs in their own style. So this what we mentioned about is a traditional structure that we follow. Mukhra, Antara and Coda, this is a traditional structure. Modern day, we have all sorts of structures, new structures that are coming in. There is a verse, there's a stanza, verse, hook. Now hook and drop is like the new way of composing these days. And there are certain songs which have no structure at all. For example, in A.R. Rahman sir's song, Main Fir Se Ud Chala, I think this Fir Se Ud Chala is from Rockstar. Now Rockstar, in this particular song, you will see there is no structure. It just flows, and it flows so beautifully that you are just flowing with the song. There is no such mukda, antara, hook. It doesn't fall anywhere. It just beautifully flows. And there are many songs like that with A.R. Sir has done, that he has created his own structures, which is beautiful. Another example is Pataka Guddi from Highway. आपके गाने का कोई भी structure हो, you can create your own structure. The entire structure, the flow of the structure, the flow of songs, the flow of events in the song will depend on your source melody. Everything comes from there. Your source melody is your main theme, which is maybe your song, your mukhda, your antara. Once you have that, that will drive your entire other structure, whether it's the prelude, whether it's the music one, whether it's the interlude, and all the melodies from the other structures will come from this area, from this particular source. So yes, your source becomes the most important thing here. आपकी जो भी मेलोडी है वही आपको बताएगी कब chords चेंज करने हैं. Your melody will kind of drive your chords. Now, for example, जैसे कि let's take example of a song called Pashmina. Now, Pashmina is composed on D minor pentatonic scale. This is your D minor pentatonic scale. तो इसमें all the notes that I just played of Pashmina, they belong to D minor pentatonic scale. So my notes are restricted to this five note scale, which is pentatonic scale. But I can experiment with my chords. So I took D minor 7th. I went to G 7th. F. And then C. So I'm experimenting with my left hand with the chords, and by using pentatonic scale. So the choice of my chords, it actually is coming from the melody that I'm singing, and it also depends on the ears, on your ears. What sounds right to you? Ultimately, that matters. What sounds right to you? I could have used a B flat also. Or a G major also. Or then, but I chose to stick to root. That's the root. Now the G comes. Now this could have been A minor also. Or this could be E minor also. Now it completely depends on your ears. How you want to drive your melody with chords, and what feeling and experience you want to give to the listener. That completely depends on the composer. Usually, landing notes से आपको आगे के chords का idea लगता है. But ये बात ज़रूरी नहीं है कि आप उन्हीं notes के chord इस्तेमाल करें. In lot of songs, मैंने chords notes के हिसाब से नहीं choose किए. These are the guiding methods, not set rules. Choose what sounds right to you. Now, for example, there's another song in the film called Dave D, a song called Pardesi. Now, in the song Pardesi, I've only used two chords. The entire song, like a 4-minute long song, we have just two chords going right throughout. It's just your G minor 7th and A minor 7. So it's like और उसको मैंने लूप कर दिया. This entire thing I just looped it around, and I had my melody on top of it. So whatever I'm singing on top of these chords, oh Paradasi, oh Paradasi. अभी जरूरी नहीं है कि ये notes इस प्रोग्रेशन में लैंड करें. So ये free flowing है. It's completely free flowing. I am just going. I'm taking a flight of my own with these two chords, and I'm composing and creating my melody. So as I said earlier, there's no set formula or there's no set rule that your notes have to fall on the chords that you are doing or has to pass through the chords that you want to choose. It's an open world out there. You can explore the way you like it. Lyrics play a huge role in bringing out the song and what you want to express to your audience. As I said, when lyrics come to my mind with the melody, I share them with the lyricist. Sometimes I am also involved through and through with the lyricist to complete the songs. But before I talk about the two ways of writing the lyrics, it is necessary to have a basic understanding of poetry. ऐसा कोई hard rule नहीं है, but your work as a composer is definitely polished when you understand poetry. Use of poetic devices like similes and metaphors give lyrics a poetic touch. मुझे बचपन से poetry और मुशायरों का बहुत शौक था. I like to think it has helped me in my career. I used to love the wordplay and the rhyming and the meter and the way they used to use radif and kafiya and to create a beautiful mahal of shairi and mushaira. And this actually piqued my interest in poetry. I think being involved with poetry has helped me in my song making journey. There have been situations where the lyrics I wrote have been acknowledged and were used in the final song. जिंदा की जो पहली लाइन्स है, मुझे छोड़ दो मेरे हाल पे, जिंदा हूँ यार काफ़ी है, ये मेरी लाइन्स है, which Amitabh loved and did not replace. Therefore, I believe if you want to become an independent artist, being involved with literature and poetry will help you write better lyrics. When I was composing Naina Da Kya Kasoor, the only thing I knew was it had to be a song which had these lines. Naina da kya kasoor, ve kasoor, ve kasoor. Naina da kya kasoor, ve kasoor, ve kasoor. मेरे पास बस इसकी पहले की मेलोडी और लिरिक्स थे, बाकी कुछ भी नहीं था. अरे अभी अभी प्यारा सा चेहरा दिखा है, ये जो पार्ट है स्टार्टिंग का, ये मैंने लिखा था बैठ के. इसकी ट्यून आ गई थी मुझे, बट लिरिक्स मेरे पास नहीं थे. लिरिक्स लिखना इज अ डिफिकल्ट प्रोसेस बिकॉज नॉट ओनली डू यू हैव टू फिट थिंग्स ऑन द मीटर, आपको अपने थॉट्स को भी बहुत ब्यूटीफुली प्रेजेंट करना पड़ता है. फिल्म के सिचुएशन के हिसाब से जो प्रोटैगनिस्ट है वो एक रेस्टोरेंट में गाना बजा रहा है जहां पर एक खूबसूरत लड़की भी है. यू कैन फील द केमिस्ट्री एंड रोमांस बिटवीन द टू कैरेक्टर्स. और तो और वो देख नहीं सकता. एंड एट द सेम टाइम सिर्फ उसी को मूवी का ट्विस्ट दिख रहा है. तो इस सिचुएशन को मद्देनजर रखते हुए मुझे बहुत स्मार्टली कंपोज करना था. इफ यू नोटिस द कॉन्ट्रास्ट बिटवीन द लिरिक्स एंड द सिचुएशन, द लिरिक्स गो लाइक दिस. अरे अभी अभी प्यारा सा चेहरा दिखा है. द सिचुएशन हियर इज फॉर द रियल ऑडियंस, हाउ वुड अ ब्लाइंड गाय नो दैट ही हैज सीन अ ब्यूटीफुल फेस, बट दिस लाइन इज स्टिल देयर बिकॉज द गाय कैन एक्चुअली सी. और ये मूवी में रिवील भी हो चुका है. सो यू नीड टू गो स्टेप बाय स्टेप. After अभी अभी प्यारा सा चेहरा दिखा है, what would be the next thing in your mind? Remember, you're a blind guy. So the reference here is, how do I tell you what's written on her face? By saying, जाने क्या कहूँ, इस पे क्या लिखा है? So one more reason to stick with these lines was that इसमें दिखा है और लिखा है, अच्छे से rhyme भी हो रहा है. Now, I have to connect these lines to नैना दा क्या कसूर. जैसे मैं आपको बताया कि that was the only thing, the hook was there in my head, नैना दा क्या कसूर. So I'm trying to connect everything to Naina Da Kya Kasoor. So this needs a connecting set of lines in between. So I said, अभी अभी प्यारा सा चेहरा देखा है, जाने क्या कहूँ, इस पे क्या लिखा है. And now there we have Naina Da Kya Kasoor. But now I need to connect them two. Now, how do I do that? So, चेहरा तो दिख गया है, but I'm confused. How do I tell you what I have seen? It's so beautiful. अब इस पार्ट को मैंने दिल के थ्रू कनेक्ट कर दिया, smartly. So, by saying गहरा समुंदर दिल डूबा जिसमें, घायल हुआ मैं उस पल से इसमें, नैना का क्या कसूर? इट्स वेरी सिंपल कि इसमें नैनो की कोई गलती नहीं है, दिल की गलती है, क्योंकि ये चेहरा, इस लड़की की दुनिया, इस सब एक गहरा समुंदर है जहां पर ये दिल डूब गया है. तो दिल बोल रहा है नैनो को कि तूने कहां फंसा दिया यार. एंड द रिप्लाई इज, मेरा कसूर नहीं है, मेरे को इतना खूबसूरत चेहरा दिखाया है, इसमें मेरी क्या गलती. सो द बेस्ट पार्ट इज दैट ऑल दीज लाइन्स आर बीइंग सung बाय अ ब्लाइंड पर्सन, एंड बिकॉज ऑफ दैट ये पूरा गेम बड़ा मजेदार था. Lyrics always involve a lot of creativity. In this case, I know he is not blind, but the real audience does not know. Radhika Apte does not know this. And at the same time, the real audience knows कि आयुष्मान can see, क्योंकि वो चीज़ मूवी में रिवील हो चुकी होती है. So I had to take all of this into consideration while I was writing the lyrics also. और मुझे दोनों साइड को जस्टिफाई करना था. So while you are trying to be clever with the lyrics, maintaining logic is also very important. Of course, well, I'm not a full-fledged lyric writer. You'll have very better insights coming from people like Amitabh Bhattacharya, Kausar Muni, Swaran Kirkire, Anvita Dutt, Vijay Saab, Gulzar Saab. They are like the experts. But ये मोटा-मोटी जो मुझे थोड़ा बहुत समझ में आता है while composing, I'm just sharing those anecdotes with you. Instruments produce sounds that are unique to them. The mood of a song determines the choice of instruments. हर इमोशन को ड्राइव करने के लिए अलग-अलग तरह के इंस्ट्रूमेंट्स होते हैं. आप जब भी कोई गाना सुन रहे हो, आपको ये नोटिस करना चाहिए कि कौन सा इंस्ट्रूमेंट किस गाने में कौन से इमोशंस एंड फील ऐड कर रहे हैं और क्या रोल प्ले कर रहे हैं. इंस्ट्रूमेंट्स कौन से होने चाहिए ये आप गानों के टेक्सचर के हिसाब से सोच पाते हो. मोनोफोनिक हो या होमोफोनिक हो, जो भी गाने का टेक्सचर आप सोचते हो, आप उसी के हिसाब से अपने इंस्ट्रूमेंट सिलेक्ट कर सकते हो. फिल्मों में सब कुछ सिचुएशन से निकलता है. अगर वो एक सैड सॉन्ग है, रोने वाला सिचुएशन है, देन आई प्रेफर नॉट एडिंग अ लॉट टू इट. अ गिटार, वोकल्स एंड जस्ट वन मोर इंस्ट्रूमेंट कैन डू दैट जॉब एडिक्वेटली. जैसे कि इन द सॉन्ग ये पल फ्रॉम नो वन किल्ड जेसिका, उसमें ज़्यादा कुछ नहीं है. देयर इज ओनली अ सिंगल इंस्ट्रूमेंट विद द वोकल्स. जब गाने की सिचुएशन एक्स्ट्रा इंस्ट्रूमेंट डिमांड कर रही होती है तो उन गानों में लेयरिंग की जाती है टू मेक देम साउंड थिकर, टू कन्वे द रिक्वायर्ड फीलिंग. नाउ कंसिडर माई सॉन्ग जिंदा. इट इज एन इमोशनल सॉन्ग लाइक ये पल दैट इज कंप्लीटली मेड फॉर दैट वन कैरेक्टर. वो भी थिन बना सकता था, बट द सॉन्ग इज द क्लाइमेक्स ऑफ द मूवी, सो इट डिमांड्स थिकनेस. इट कुड स्टिल हैव बीन स्पार्स्ड लाइक ये पल, बट मुझे लगा दैट सॉन्ग नीड्स सम मोर डेकोरेशन to balance it with the movie's visuals. Given आजकल DAWs पे composition होता है, we should look at it like an opportunity to play around with different instruments and not restrict ourselves to just the usual suspects like keyboards, guitars, and drums. There are a lot of instruments that you can pick from, and they sound beautiful. So don't restrict yourselves to commonly used instruments and experiment more. So it depends कि आप किस situation में, किस character के लिए गाना बना रहे हो. And only then can you decide which section of instruments you will choose, but you should be open to trying different and interesting combinations to achieve your desired results. Emotions are very well conveyed by string instruments. Instruments like the solo violin and the sarangi depict sadness very well. It gives an emotional and melancholic flavor. However, the same violin can be used to convey romantic emotions and happy emotions as well, if used together with multiple violins. There's also violin 1, violin 2. The second violin plays a supportive role harmonically and rhythmically to the first violins, which often plays the melody and the highest line of the string section. We also have the violas, double bass and cello. They all come under the string section. There are also the woodwind instruments, which are used to convey emotions. Instruments in this section are used to depict romance, intensity, drama, and sadness. The range is so vast that you can use it for most emotions. Other instruments under this section are flute, English flute, piccolo, bassoon, and clarinet. Clarinet दो टाइप के होते हैं, bass clarinet and normal clarinet. इनके ranges octave wise होते हैं. Clarinets can be used in groups as well as solo. We use the horn section to create grandness. Horns include traditional orchestra, trumpet, trombone, tuba, saxophone, tenor sax, soprano sax, alto sax, French horn and English horns. Horn section का sound spectrum बहुत large होता है. It's used in larger than life things. For example, it's used in Marvel and DC movies when they want to create drama on a mammoth scale. Horns and woodwinds are used to create a bigger, grandiose environment. Also, horn section is used in parts of the R&B genre, jazz and blues as well. कोई भी म्यूजिक के दो पार्ट्स होते हैं, एक रिदम और एक मेलोडी. The rhythm to music is brought by percussions. Percussions are used as an accompaniment for the emotions that are conveyed through the melodies in the song. अब जैसे मान लो कोई ग्रैंड सा इमोशन कन्वे करना है और कोई पीरियड फिल्म का लार्जर देन लाइफ वाला गाना है, तब हम ग्रैंडियर स्केल पर percussions यूज करेंगे. जब मैं सवालू बना रहा था, वो पूरा सीन 1950s और 60s के बंगाल में सेट था. और जब आप उस दौर के बारे में सोचते हो तो दिमाग में नाम एच.डी. बर्मन साहब का आता है. देन यू काइंड ऑफ स्टार्ट थिंकिंग कि वो कैसे सोचते इस गाने के बारे में. बचपन से मैं उनको सुनते आ रहा हूँ, सो इट वॉज काइंड ऑफ ईजी फॉर मी टू फिगर आउट कि क्या करना चाहिए. एज लुटेरा इज सेट इन द 50s एंड 60s इन द ईस्टर्न पार्ट ऑफ द कंट्री, आई कैन नॉट यूज लैटिन percussions और दरबुका देयर. इट इज़ अ बिग मिसमैच. इसलिए आई कंसिडर्ड इंस्ट्रूमेंट्स दैट आर फ्रॉम the same region. I started with that pattern in my mind और उस हिसाब से I went forward. Whereas Bombay Velvet, which is from the same period of the 50s and 60s, has a completely different sound signature. Because that story is from a different part of the country altogether. So your choice of instruments also depend on the place your music belongs to or is set in. Percussions have a large variety and the range that includes drums, timpani, glockenspiel and western instruments like the xylophone, congo. Then there's also the stomp जो पैरों से बजाया जाता है. ऐसे percussions का division low perks और high perks में करते हैं based on the frequency spectrum. They come under high और low. High perks में you have shakers, tambourine, anklungs, hi-hats वगैरह वगैरह. अपनी tonality के वजह से ये सबसे ऊपर सुनाई देंगे गानों में. Low perks में होते हैं जैसे टिम्फनी, गॉन्ग, टाइको ड्रम्स, किक्स वगैरह वगैरह. आजकल तो हर तरह के घरेलू सामान भी यूज़ कर लेते हैं लोग percussions के लिए. All of that brings creative sounds to your music. शिवमणि के किट में आपको अचार का डब्बा, बाल्टिया, पता नहीं क्या क्या दिख जाएगा. मैंने भी एक्सपेरिमेंट्स किया है इन चीज़ों से. हम लोग छोकरा जवा में बड़े बड़े ड्रम्स लेकर आए थे percussions के लिए, जो इनफैक्ट ट्रैश कैंस थे. तो वो भी एक percussions के एग्जाम्पल है. हर म्यूजिक की एक सॉनिक फ्रीक्वेंसी होती है. देयर आर हाई नोट्स विच आर हाई फ्रीक्वेंसी साउंड्स, द मिड्स, द लोअर मिड्स एंड द लोज विच कवर द फ्रीक्वेंसी स्पेक्ट्रम. ऐसे ही एवरी इंस्ट्रूमेंट, साउंड पैचेस, वोकल्स, whatever is used in music have different frequency ranges. ऐसे करके पूरा गाना is basically a combination of frequencies. Basically you try to cover the entire range of frequency in a song. Indian classical में the vocals give you the mids, the harmonium and tanpura give you the mids and highs, and tabla gives you the lows and mids. और वैसे समा बनता है. This way you hear all the correct frequencies. वैसे ही in western music kick and bass provide the lower frequencies, and vocals और बाकी elements आपको mids और highs provide करते हैं. Since kick and bass have a very strong presence of low end frequencies, you have to be very very careful while layering any other instrument which has similar frequency. For example, taiko drums or timpani or bass drums, etc., whatever, which have a very high resonance and low frequencies, they have a tendency to clash. कभी-कभी your music requires something more than just the instrument. The best part is कि आपको अगर कोई भी sound अच्छा लगे या किसी sound के साथ experiment करना हो, तो आप उनको sample करके देख सकते हो to check how it sounds in your music, which basically is you record the live sound, you put it on the computer and use it in your music. अब जैसे मैंने ये sound program किया है, तो रिक्वायरमेंट्स के हिसाब से और अपने क्रिएटिव आइडियाज़ के हिसाब से हम लोग अलग अलग तरीके के साउंड्स यूज़ करते हैं. गिटार के पैचेस भी यूज़ होते हैं फॉर दिस पर्पस. and it all depends on the genre. जैसे in rock music, there's distortion. Light music में you have electric and acoustic guitar की plucking. And in funk music, we have electric guitar की hard strumming. All this is used quite a lot. In the film Amir, there's a song called Hara. Usme as the song progresses, there's a sound bub like Hara bub Hara bub. तो ये जो sound है, ये एक door के बंद होने का sound है. In the character's head, the door is closing for him. उसे कुछ समझ नहीं आ रहा कि किस तरफ जाना है. उसके लिए हर दरवाजे बंद हो रहे हैं. He can't find an escape or a solution to his situation. So I did this by picking up on the character's state of mind. आगे जाके उसमें एक चाबुक का भी साउंड है. दरवाजे के साथ मैंने एक हंटर का भी साउंड यूज किया है कि किसी ने दरवाजा ना सिर्फ बंद किया है, उसे कोई मार भी रहा है. To intensify the situation. That is not just about him being unable to find escape, but he is being hurt as well. Therefore, one should experiment as much as possible and try to come up with innovative sounds to elevate the emotion he wants to convey. So now what I will do is do a live composing session. Basically, I'll compose a song or a piece of music live in front of you guys. And जो अब तक हम लोगों ने सीखा है, वो सारी चीज़ों को we can touch upon while we are learning this session. Theme of the live composition: a thoughtful character looking at life in retrospect and feeling grateful about how everything turned out. So this is the kind of visual in my mind about a thoughtful character who's feeling grateful about life and turning back and looking at the way things have turned out to be. So it feels like a very pleasant and satisfying kind of a situation. As I said earlier, that there are no set rules to how you depict an emotion. It could be major, it could be minor. But for this particular situation, I personally feel that I should take a major scale. And a time signature, I would like to take a 4x4 or a 2x4 or a 4x4. There's this very 4x4 majorish kind of a melody that's going in my head. Let's see how it goes. I can decide a tempo maybe. We'll put down a tempo, which is, first, for example, say, it's close to 105, 110 kind of a tempo. So here I have put 110 here. Push the metronome on and play the click. Right, like 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. So whatever ideas are coming in, I'll just record it. So here we go. Yeah, we copy this. So this is the kind of a pattern that I have in mind. It's like a bossa nova kind of a thing. So I just put down the chords on the left hand, and I'll kind of quantize it here. I'll take another track. I've taken another track of this piano, and just do the melody which is in my mind. I'll do it again. Trial and error. So this is roughly an idea that a piece that I've composed about this particular character. So this is the rough melody which I had in mind. I've just roughly put it down. So if you hear it, this is how it sounds. Now this is just recorded in the piano. Like it could be any instrument, like a pleasant instrument. It could be done in the acoustic guitar and guitars as well. And I can layer it. Now I can layer it with various other elements as well to give it a little more pleasing effect. I can harmonize it. I can do a lot of things here. But the basic melody sounds like this. And then just adding a little, one more layer to this, add an emotional layer to this, even more to make it sound even more pleasant and happy. Here we can add a little bit of a string, something warm. Not in the beginning, so I'll take the second half of the song, of the melody, which repeats. So here is another layer to this to bring in that desired effect. And probably maybe one more aspect to this. Just a little bit of a, maybe add a flamenco guitar maybe. So the first pass, we let it be. Sorry, one more time, I'll repeat this. So this kind of gives me a sense. So see how so this is kind of an harmony to the main melody I have added. It's all roughly done. It's all very roughly done. Of course, I have to, if I wish to do it with the live instruments, with lots of musicians, then I'll be writing it down. I'll have someone to write it down, and we'll have it done neatly and beautifully and orchestrated even more beautifully. But this is just a rough, basic idea. When I hear the brief for the first time, and I'm just doing it impromptu right now, just live composition, keeping that character in mind. So this is just a short 45-second music piece which I created, and this is how it goes. And just to give it a body, just as we also spoke about the frequency spectrum. So now my mids and highs are beautifully covered here. I need something. It's asking for something that's of a lower register. So I'll add a bass here. Let's see how a bass sounds here. So I go. This is an Omnisphere library. It has got amazing sounds. I could use a synth bass or any electric bass, but I thought I'll get some nice rounded synth bass. Maybe. Let's see this one. Oh, that's too bad. Something that has a little sub-frequency. Now, this is a very important aspect of layering, because sometimes you need to spend a lot of time searching for that right sound. You might find it quicker also, but then usually it takes a good amount of time to kind of recognize the correct sound which is going to fit the mood of the music that you're creating. Let me try electric bass rather than the synth bass. Here we go. Mute it. No, not full range octave. Let's try a fretless bass in this. And ideally, the first part I would like to keep it sparse and empty only, with just the piano doing its work, the left and the right doing its thing, and come in later, like rest of the elements. Okay, the click is needed, metronome is needed, yeah. So basically when you're composing in your head first, because once you hear the brief or whatever story idea you get, there'll be certain melodies that will start playing in your head. And once that plays, when you try to put it down on the piano, you might get your key, you might get your scale, which scale is it? So in this case, in this particular piece, I was singing it in my head on a C major, this C major scale. And so when this melody came, daram, 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 pam, pa ba ba, param, 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 pa pa ba ba, param, param, para baram, param, baram, baram. It's a very simple age-old progression that I have used here, which is your C, A minor, F, G, which is 1-6-4-5. 1-6-4-5 is again our most commonly used chord progression in the world. So I've kept it very, very simple and basic. So ba-da, ba-ba-da, ba-da-da, ba, ba-da-da, A minor, pa, now F major, now G major, back to C. So this is the scale and the progression that I have chosen, which naturally lends itself. When the melody, when you hear it, melody kind of drives you there and helps you figure out the right progression for the piece. Flamenco guitar and the piano, they sound very happy, romantic, pleasant to the ears, and it really goes well with the theme of whatever we are trying to create. There is, because it's the person who is trying to look back at his life and in retrospect, he's feeling satisfied and happy. There is no darkness here. There is no sadness here. So these instruments naturally, they kind of when you hear it, they can make you feel happier. They make you feel good. So flamenco guitar is one such which I really like. I love the sound of it. It's very pleasant and beautiful and happy. The piano is, the strings is, and the violins are. So there are, of course, endless possibilities to how I can take it further ahead and what all instruments can come, what all layers can come to further enhance the experience of the piece. So as of now, whatever I could think best right now, I have done that. Of course, there can be the rhythm section I haven't touched upon. So there can be various sorts of percussions which I can add to it. There can be a voice, even when the melody repeats again. I can have a voice or a flute maybe on top of it. And that too an Indian flute with Indian graces. I could use that. It'll that might sound just beautiful. So there are endless possibilities of how to take it further and what all layers can you add, which will make your listening experience even more beautiful. I like to begin less, because sometimes less is more. And when you begin less and then you keep adding layers to it, it feels great. So I thought the first part, because it's a theme that I'd composed. It's a very simple theme that you guys just heard on the 4 chords. And I played that first. I just wanted to establish that particular theme with not much jing-bang happening around it. Just establish the melody on a piano. And then start adding layers to it. And then, of course, develop it further. So it kind of beautifies the whole listening experience. Basically, you get a sense that this is how any composer would work in a studio on a daily basis. So basically, आप अपने instincts को follow करो. Your instincts will always guide you right. Keep experimenting, keep practicing, and eventually you will find your sound, you'll find your voice. Moving on to the next chapter. So in the next few lessons, we are going to understand a few of my composition in detail. उनका creation का process क्या था, उनकी melody कैसे बनी, उनकी arrangement कैसे हुई, and how everything came together to convey the intended emotions. Well, let's start with the song called Zinda from the film Lutera. We have talked about it अभी तक 1-2 बार, पर शुरू से उसकी creation की journey समझते हैं. ये गाना compose करते वक्त I was actually going through a low phase in my life at that point of time. And I wanted to be myself at that time. I didn't want to talk to anybody or पता नहीं, it was just a not so great moment for me. और वैसे माहौल में एक दिन मैं स्टूडियो में अकेला बैठा था. I was sitting alone. I had a harmonium with me. मेरे सामने ही था. और ऐसी कोई somber mood में था, and I just hit a chord there, a note there, like an A major. Of course, ये तो piano है, but it was an harmonium then. एक A major note, पता नहीं कुछ तो resonate हुआ मेरे साथ उस note का, उस chord का, and I automatically I started singing मुझे छोड़ दो मेरे हाल पे, मुझे छोड़ दो मेरे हाल पे, जिंदा हूँ यार काफी है। तो बेसिकली ये पता नहीं कहाँ से, बिकॉज आई वॉज इन दैट स्टेट ऑफ माइंड, आई वॉज इन दैट जोन, विथ लिरिक्स विथ मेलोडी, अपने आप ही कहीं से तो आया ही, विच आई हैव नो आंसर टू कि कैसे और कहाँ से आया। वहाँ से मैं प्ले करता गया, करता रहा, आई केप्ट improvising with the notes, with the chords, and in that process I reached a place where I started to love the tune. मुझे कुछ अच्छा लग रहा था, I was enjoying it. It was kind of fitting into the situation that I was going through at that point. It was pretty much fitting in very well. At that moment I didn't realize, phone लिया, record किया, भूल गया. Like I said पहले, कोई set formula नहीं है कि major scale से you cannot make emotional songs or sad songs. Then after a few days, जब मैंने ये tune recall की अपने phone से, I tried to map it with Lutera, and I realized that जो मेरे साथ हो रहा था, वही रणवीर के कैरेक्टर के साथ भी हो रहा था in the movie. So I said, maybe, why not? Let's just try. There's always a maybe, as you aren't ever sure. So I just started building on this mood for the film. अब टाइम था उसे एक प्रॉपर स्ट्रक्चर देने का, तो मैंने सबसे पहले स्ट्रम किया इस तरह से. Actually, I'm strumming on the piano, but it's a strum on the guitar, acoustic guitar. So, I add a little sustain to it. Dang, dang, dang. इस तरह से स्ट्रम किया, और उस स्ट्रम पे एक इंट्रो मेलोडी बनाई. ये एंड सो ऑन. और इस तरह से ये एक सिग्नेचर मेलोडी बनी. ये गाना तो है ए मेजर स्केल पर, बट दिस मेलोडी हैज बीन मेड ऑन अ 6-note हेक्साटोनिक स्केल. देन आई प्लेड अलोंग टू फिगर आउट सम अदर मेलोडीज फॉर द इंटरल्यूड. मुझे बहुत लंबा इंट्रो नहीं बनाना था इस गाने का, बिकॉज लंबे इंटरल्यूड्स जनरली दे गेट बोरिंग एंड दे डोंट वर्क फॉर अ फिल्म सॉन्ग. तो या सो आई कट इट शॉर्ट. एंड अंतरा, जो इस गाने का अंतरा है, वो भी मैंने उसी वक्त कंपोज कर दिया था, विच आई वाज लाइक, हवाओं से डा 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 डी डा डा डी. इस तरह से एक अंतरे की मेलोडी भी कंपोज हो गई थी. तो आई काइंड ऑफ हैड अ स्ट्रक्चर इन प्लेस, एंड बिल्ड होते होते आई काइंड ऑफ फेल्ट कि ये गाने में एक सॉफ्ट रॉक वाइब आ गई है. सो द होल सॉन्ग नाउ डज नॉट हैव एनी हार्मोनीज. आई हैव ओनली यूज्ड काउंटर मेलोडीज एट हायर पिचेस इन द कोरस सेक्शन, and that too right at the end of the song, to end the song on a higher note. When you carefully listen to the chorus of this song, कम volume पर, you will hear distorted guitars. And then I also use strings. अब strings इसीलिए ताकि मैं इसको और grand बना सकूं. Because this song was for the climax scene. I also had the visuals with me, actually. I had the visuals with me in front of me while making this song. और उस सीन में बहुत ही इंटेंस इमोशन चल रहा था. एक तरफ ड्रामा तो एक तरफ थ्रिल. जहाँ हीरो को गोली लगी है while he is in love, तो पेन, थ्रिल, ड्रामा, प्यार, बहुत सारे इमोशंस चल रहे थे एक साथ. तो इसलिए आई स्टार्टेड ऑन स्ट्रिंग्स, और मैंने इंटरल्यूड में, विच इज़ द म्यूजिक सेक्शन ऑफ द सॉन्ग, उसमें मैंने देन आई थॉट कि टू क्रिएट द टेंशन आई बिल्ट ऑन द डोमिनेंट 7 एंगल. Like dominant 7 is this, yeah. So if you hear that, there's like a French horn playing, there's a string playing, and there's this dominant 7th angle to it, just to give it a little tension. और फिर मैंने उसको अंतरे के पहले रिजॉल्व कर दिया, क्योंकि मुझे अंतरे में वो टेंशन वाली फील नहीं देनी थी. आप जब विजुअल देखोगे तब नोटिस करोगे कि मैंने उस टेंशन को रिजॉल्व करवा दिया था जब रणवीर के हाथ से पत्ता छूट जाता है. तो ऑल दिस इज हैपनिंग बिफोर द हवाओं से जो मांगा हिस्सा मेरा, दैट सेक्शन इट्स हैपनिंग बिफोर दैट. Because the song is about the hero's emotion and his pain, I wanted to stay with him rather than dwell upon the thrill and the tension bit of it. Since the song has a soft rock vibe to it, I just can't use electronic instruments here. So I wanted to stay away from all the electronic stuff like arpeggiators, synthwave, etc. I strictly wanted to keep it organic. So I used acoustic guitar, electric guitar, strings, horns. इससे जो इसका soundscape बना वो बहुत सही था. Organic instruments में भी I had to pick my instruments with caution. I could not choose woodwinds or mallets because that would take the mood of the song to a different direction altogether. That way horns and strings gave a correct expression to Zinda. So this particular song is a prime example where I've experimented with a lot of conventional rules. इससे आपको एक सीख मिलती है कि म्यूजिक कॉम्पोजिशन में जो भी रूल्स है, take them with a pinch of salt. And also, as I have said earlier, your mood will determine the kind of music you make. Generally, कोई भी फिल्मों में 4, 5 या 6 गाने होते हैं, कभी कभी ज़्यादा भी होते हैं. But when we compose for certain films, we don't just compose those 4-5 songs. हम लोग बहुत सारे गाने बनाते हैं. Sometimes it depends on the filmmaker, of course. But sometimes you end up making 15 songs, 20 songs, just to get those right 4-5 songs. उसी तरह से मैं एक फिल्म पे काम कर रहा था जिसका नाम था केदारनाथ. उसमें एक सिचुएशन था जहाँ पर मुझे ब्रीफ मिली थी फॉर अ मुस्लिम वेडिंग सॉन्ग. और बनाते बनाते आई वाज जस्ट डूइंग माय ट्रायल एंड एरर. और मुस्लिम वेडिंग सॉन्ग बनाते बनाते आई डोंट नो, इन माय रिसर्च I just typed Muslim wedding on YouTube actually one day, and just to see क्या होता है, how is it done, what are the kind of songs. So it led me to Middle Eastern music actually. So the whole song was made from that inspiration. Now when I thought about the film and I heard the song, I personally felt कि यार ये तो जा नहीं रहा है. This is like way too much of a disconnect. So I never shared that with the director. मैंने और डायरेक्टर को सुनाया भी नहीं. Because Kedarnath is still yet set in India, and we are talking about Indian Muslims here. But this particular piece, this composition, remained with me. So I let it be in my hard drive, did not touch it, and then we made Sweetheart, which is finally in the film right now. When lockdown happened, when this COVID situation happened and lockdown happened, I had already launched my label, A.T. Azad, independent label. So I was just going through my library, my hard drives. I actually again stumbled upon this particular track. It's called Inshallah, and I really liked it. I loved it. Whatever I heard, I must have heard it after a year or 2 years maybe, because Kedarnath I had worked around 2018, and now after 2 years in 2020 I was listening to this particular song and I felt, this particular song sounds very interesting. Let me just try. It was very basic, एक basic structure था. And since I was at home, work from home, I had my setup at home in my room. Not in my bedroom, I have a separate music room. So वहाँ पे मैं अपना setup था मेरे पास, तो मैंने सोचा let me try working on this song. So I started working on this song. And the entire song has a very Middle Eastern vibe. So I completely programmed the entire song on my DAW. इससे पहले मैंने कभी Middle Eastern vibe try नहीं किया था. And since it's not our music, I had to do my research. For example, how they use their instruments, like the darbuka, and how the melody and how the scales are used. So I kind of went with that research, and usually they use a lot of harmonic minor, melodic minor. And we spoke about modes. In the modes, I had also mentioned about that E Phrygian, or Phrygian mode is very, very Middle Eastern kind of a mode. So those kind of scales they use a lot in their music. Scared for Inshallah, that wasn't the case. It was already been created on natural minor. So I thought, why not? Let's go ahead with this particular scale. Even that works. So since the song was composed, I started working on the arrangement of it. So here is the song. I started off with the rhythm section first. for me, the rhythm section was important. So I created a rhythm section. There was a rhythm pattern that I created, which I'll take you through, in which the kick goes like this. Just simple, straightforward, 4x4. Nothing much. Just keeps going. And then I added a snare to it because I wanted a bounce to my composition. Da 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 da. That's my composition. So I wanted to create a rhythm which was supported beautifully. So I added a snare which will give that nice bounce. So this is how the snare goes. So this was my basic foundation of my rhythm, which I created. And then I thought, how about using the actual Middle Eastern instruments, the percussions that they use very commonly there. So darbuka, of course, we all know. Darbuka is a very commonly used instrument. It sounds perfectly Middle Eastern. So I kind of created this pattern and this particular pattern. So this pattern is a very simple pattern. I created this pattern. It's a 4-bar pattern actually. If you hear it carefully, it's 4-bar pattern. Yeah, and I kind of loved this pattern, and I thought it was correct. So I placed it with my kick and snare. The kick and snare that I had programmed earlier, I placed it with that, and this is how it sounded. So now it was making sense. There was a shape taking place, a beautiful rhythmic shape that was taking place here. So I added a few more elements. They also use a lot of claps, like real claps they also use. So I added a layer of claps on it. The pattern was just simple. Clap pattern was straightforward. One and one and one and one and. So there are real claps as well as synthetic claps. So I combine the two worlds. If you hear it, there's on there's synthetic and off there's real. This is how the clap pattern goes. And now when you hear it with the entire rhythm arrangement of kick, snare and darbuka, this is how it will sound. So this kind of gives me a complete feel of the entire rhythm, a complete vibe of the entire rhythm section. And I thought, this sounds nice. Now, what should I do? What other layers should I add? For me, this was complete as far as rhythm is concerned. But then bass, the pattern of bass also acts as a rhythm. So I created a bass pattern which would completely lock in beautifully with this pattern of rhythm that I created. So I created a bass pattern here, which goes like this, which moves and flows with the flow of the rhythm, like this. And I layered it with an EP. The same pattern I layered it with an electric piano. You hear it. So this pattern was ready. And then if you observe in Middle Eastern music, they use a lot of string instruments. Instruments like saz, oud, rabab, and all those instruments. So I thought getting them and adding a layer and touch of those will also give a very authentic sound to it, vibe to it. So I also programmed, of course, it was a lockdown and I couldn't outsource any musician to come and play for me because I was in my house And this was early May, June, where things were really bad at that time. So nobody was able to travel anywhere. So I did not even think of calling any musician. I know I could have easily called, I know a person who plays all these instruments like rabab and oud, but then I couldn't do that. So I had to program it. I had no other option but to program it on keys. So I went on to my VST plugin. It's called Middle Eastern. It's got all the beautiful Middle Eastern sounds there. So I checked in with rabab, saz, oud there. So here I'll just play the oud pattern, which is programmed pretty okay, pretty decent. Had I brought in a proper musician to play it, the things would have been different. But still, here. Oh, the bends and the means. With the help of pitch bender, and I had to try to create that real effect, but obviously the real instrument is when the instrumentalist plays, that's where you get the real vibe and feel to it. But still I tried here. It sounds pretty decent here, pretty okay. So basically, this was the complete rhythm and melodic structure of the song, which was in my head complete. I felt really satisfied and nice with these particular patterns. So the song with the saz and oud and the licks of that. So I had used one of the licks, the sample that I had got, oud licks, lick we call it, that I got from particular plugin. So this is how it was. So I created an intro out of this. Out of this idea, I created an intro. I added another layer of saz here. So imagine if we had a live player doing this. Oh, it would have been completely amazing. But still, programming wise, it's still decent. So here, there is another layer. Add another layer. Now added a melody on top of this. Claps and darbuka. So I brought in the claps and darbuka. Right. I didn't want to waste time. Just bring in, start the intro. And this way my intro was kind of done. And I thought, let me start the song. And I started the song. First 2 bars I did not do anything. I kept the song empty. I kept the song sparse, just the voice. Song begins only with the voice. Because I thought, if I bring in the groove that I had created earlier, which I played, with the song, uska impact nahi aa raha tha. Uska maza nahi aa raha tha. So creating that 2-bar gap gave me a good impact. So when you hear the song starts and then the beat comes and the groove comes, uska maza hi kuch aur hai. Like this. I need to mention here is the singer from Turkey. His name is Ala Vardi. He lives in Turkey and he's a fabulous musician and singer. So for this particular song, I thought he would be the right, perfect choice to sing. And he just sounds correct. He just sounds like this track and him, they kind of belong to each other. And also another biggest highlight is the chorus. The chorus is very authentic Middle Eastern vibe of chorus. Of course, it's done by the people here in India. These are the bunch of guys who I usually work with in a lot of things. They are very versatile. They go on brief, whatever brief you give them, and then bang, they just nail it beautifully. So the chorus and the voice kind of brought in a beautiful element of that region. And that way, I kept building the song, and I had a beautiful track ready. Now the interesting part, you guys will be thinking, अरे लॉकडाउन है, घर पे बैठा है, ये अला वारदी कहाँ से आ गया, ये कोरस कहाँ से आ गया. So that's what the technology helps in today's day and age. Thank God we are in 2020 and the COVID has come. अगर 15 साल पहले कोविड आया होता 2005 में, तो ये सब कुछ होता नहीं, ये सब पॉसिबल नहीं था. तो since we had the opportunity and the technology available, of course I first did a Zoom call with first of all, I got in touch with Ala Vardi. He was struggling with his lockdown there in Turkey, and we were doing it here. And I just called him and I said, this is something that we are doing, and you don't have to do anything. We're going to be shooting the video also. We're going to be recording the song also. You don't have to come anywhere. You don't have to travel. You be in your bedroom. You be quarantined, just the way I am. Everything, do it from your home. And it's possible in today's day and age. So he was there. I was here. I just briefed him. We got on a Zoom call. On a Zoom call, I just told him, this is what I want. This is the song. Blah, 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 blah. He understood. He just got it there. He was excited. He recorded because he had all the stuff in his, because he does this a lot. He does a lot of YouTube videos. So he, thankfully and luckily, he had a green screen chroma also at his place, a recording studio also, mic, everything. Whatever it takes, he had it all there in his house in Turkey. So it kind of helped us a lot. And he recorded all the vocals and he sent it to us. And it was like bang, sat on the track so beautifully. And then similarly, I did another Zoom call with my chorus singers. There were like 4 guys. And I told them, Ala's voice had come and I had done my parts. I had almost done the programming of the song and I had sent them the track. Hear the song and then get back to me. All 4 of you, just hear it and then let's chat. So they heard the song and then they understood, of course, because the song was talking by itself, what the word is. So I told them that the nuances that you're going to be using. So the portions like these, like Walla Walla, Inshallah, all the means, the harkats, the way they take, I told them you just need to exactly get that vibe, those nuances. It has to sound authentic to that region. So they got the vibe, they understood the brief, and they did a great job out of it. Each one did. Actually, this was the first time experience for all of us that we did chorus. Everybody did it in their homes. Luckily, they all have their home setup, some sort of DAW, some sort of somebody has Logic, somebody has Ableton. This was a very unique experience for me also. I had never recorded chorus like this. कि हर एक बंदा अपने अपने घर पे बैठ के रिकॉर्ड कर रहा है और वैसे ही हुआ. सबको मैंने Zoom पे ब्रीफ दे दिया था. They got it beautifully. They understood it right, and they actually did a great job individually in their homes. And when their files started coming, एक एक करके किसी का शाम को आया, किसी का अगले दिन सुबह आया, किसी का अगले दिन शाम को आया. ऐसे अलग-अलग टाइम पे चारों के फाइल्स आ रहे थे. And then I started, मैंने जैसे you can see there's a huge stack of all these things. There's a huge stack क्योंकि अब सबके usually इतना बड़ा stack होता नहीं. Because we all 4 come in the studio and we record all 4 together. अब इनका अलग सा आ रहा था. आधा से ज़्यादा मुझे निकाल देना पड़ा. Because my computer was not able to take, because each and every singer had sent some 10-12 passes tracks. So 10-12 multiplied by 4, like 40-50 tracks of chorus cover, which was too huge for my computer also to handle. But yeah, so वो सबको इकट्ठा किया, जोड़ा, हमने सही चीज़ यूज़ की और just worked beautifully. So इस तरह से इंशाल्लाह का जन्म हुआ और I'm pretty happy that I was able to use it in my own label, A.T. Azad. Well, पता नहीं क्यों बहुत लोगों को ऐसा लगता है कि चौधरी, the song that I had created for Coke Studio, बहुत लोगों को लगता है कि वो एक राजस्थानी folk song है. But that's not correct. It was written by Shelly Paji. His name is Shailendra Singh Sodhi. We call him Shelly Paji प्यार से. So written by Shelly Paji way back in 2011, and later I composed it. So it is an original composition by me and Shelly, which the world thinks that it's a folk song. So that's not true. This is what you should always aim for as a composer. कि आपके songs sound like they actually belong to that region. So when I was starting with this song, ये मेरे मोबाइल में एक recorded vocal tune थी. जैसे ही मैंने इसे सुना, मुझे एक राजस्थानी music की feel आई. Naturally मुझे राजस्थानी lyrics चाहिए थे. So I called up Shelly Paji. I don't know why I called Shelly Paji, because Shelly Paji is a Punjabi lyric writer and he's from Punjab. But I couldn't think of anybody but him for this particular song. So I just called him and generally tried my luck asking him, sir, आप पंजाबी तो लिखते हो, राजस्थानी भी लिखते हो क्या? So I was surprised when he said, yes, of course, very much. तो मैंने immediately उनको melody दी, and the moment I gave him the melody, within half an hour, आधे घंटे में उन्होंने गाना लिख दिया. And when I read the lyrics, I'm like, wow, this is amazing, it's just appropriate. So it was great to have Shelly Paji on board for this. And then I composed this song, Chaudhary, on F sharp major. This is look the chupna jao ji, the F sharp major. And setup wise, we had drums, percussions, bass, electric guitar, chorus section, and we had Israj and what do you call? Sorry, sarangi and khartal. इसमें usually कोई programming या कोई synth use नहीं किया था मैंने. It was absolutely live, pure live production. तो जो भी मैंने आपको इंशाल्लाह के बारे में बताया, that was all about programming. That was all everything happened here in one machine, inshallah. Whereas this was absolutely organic and live with all the musicians, jamming with all the musicians. So it is like a completely opposite spectrum of the way things are produced in music these days. So Darshan was on the drums, Sanket was on percussions. Rajasthani touch लाने के लिए we used sarangi. इसमें we used Dilshad Khan. Dilshad Khan is one of the finest sarangi player we have in the industry. And also to bring in even more rustic touch, we got a khartal player. Khartal is also a very, very Rajasthani, wonderful Rajasthani percussion instrument. So we jammed and composed this song together till we kind of got a final product which was very, very satisfactory. And I had given the brief to everybody, like what kind of sound and zone I want. And I had shared a structure with them, which I already had with me during Trishna, because I created this song for Trishna. So I had that structure. So I shared it with the gang. And उसके बाद उन्होंने अपने ideas contribute किए and song complete हुआ and it was amazing. The song starts with the sarangi. Actually, if you hear the song, it starts only with the sarangi solo. And then I asked Darshan कि once the sarangi part is over, can you get me into the rhythmic zone of the song? Just to bring in the pulse, to get into the pulse of the song. So they came up with this wonderful mouth percussion, Darshan, Sanket and the dholak player. They came up with this wonderful mouth percussion. So it was a great start for the song. So we decided to go ahead with this. And then इसके बाद acoustic guitar की एक melody आती है. I just wanted something that would connect to the song. So from this percussion to the song, there is this melody that was being created by me and Bapida. Bapida, who is the acoustic guitar player. So we had इस तरह की कुछ एक मेलोडी आती है on the acoustic guitar section. तो फ्यूज करते समय we decided कि जब मामे खान गाएंगे तब सारंगी, खरताल और बापीदा का acoustic section सब साथ में आएंगे, जिससे हम एक राजस्थानी फोक की फील ला पाएंगे. और दूसरी साइड में जब वी हैव दर्शन, रशाद, जारवेस, शॉन पिंटो, ये लोग हैं जो सारे वेस्टर्न एलिमेंट्स को फ्यूज करेंगे. तो दिस अमैलगमेशन ऑफ दीज टू वर्ल्ड्स मीटिंग एंड कमिंग टुगेदर वाज क्वाइट एक्साइटिंग फॉर ऑल ऑफ अस. एट द सेम टाइम मुझे बहुत ज़्यादा वेस्टर्नाइज भी नहीं करना था और मुझे बहुत ज़्यादा उसको फोक्सी देसी नहीं रखना था. सो वी हैड टू क्रिएट द राइट बैलेंस. दैट वाज द take of the whole song. So basically when you're dealing with so many instruments, it is important कि आप हर सेक्शन के पैटर्न को अच्छे से फिल करो, तभी आप अच्छे टेक्सचर बना पाओगे. जैसे यहाँ पे जो ड्रम्स का पैटर्न है, यहाँ भी जितने भी गैप्स है, ये गैप्स मैंने फिल किए हैं ढोलक से. लाइक ड्रम्स का पैटर्न विल बी लाइक now this is one pattern of the drums going on. So how do I fill this? I filled it with the dholak. And when you hear it together, it sounds like a fuller rhythm pattern, a complete rhythm pattern. Then you have the bass, which also is locking in with the rhythm, locking in with the kick of the drums. So when you hear the entire bass, drum and bass section, it kind of gives you a full idea of the rhythm structure that the song has. And then we have the piano and keys holding the chords. They are not disturbing or moving the frequency created by the percussion section. We did this so we could understand the movements better. Now the guitar is just filling up the empty areas. ऐसे ओवरऑल साउंड का एक पर्सनालिटी से एक ग्रूव क्रिएट होता है विच गिव्स कैरेक्टर टू द सॉन्ग. Addition and selection of instruments is best achieved during jamming. Your song asks for it automatically. You feel यहाँ कुछ मिसिंग है, कुछ आ सकता है. Then you jam, synth करते हैं, गिटार करते हैं, and with experimentation and experience, you keep on getting better and better at it. जो हमने बात की, that was about the rhythm section, the backing section. Then we have the lead section, the lead melody. Here has been taken care by the sarangi and acoustic guitar, which is played by Bapida and Dilshad Khan. और इस गाने की जो एक और हाईलाइटिंग एलिमेंट है वो है खड़ताल सोलो, which is being accented by the drums. Khartal is, as I said earlier, is a fantastic Rajasthani folk percussion instrument. तो इसमें ये जो खड़ताल का सोलो है, यहाँ पर मैंने कोई भी बैकिंग रखी नहीं है एक्सेप्ट दर्शन हु इज जस्ट होल्डिंग द पल्स ऑफ द एंटायर सोलो सेक्शन. और सिंस ये गाना बहुत लंबा है, एक्चुअली ये गाना कुछ 7 मिनट का है, तो मुझे लगा कि आफ्टर अ सेक्शन लाइक 3.5 मिनट के बाद मुझे लगा लिसनर को हो सकता है कि फटीग हो जाए, या एक लिसनिंग फटीग होता है बिकॉज ये कंटिन्यूस चले जा रहा है कुछ, तो एक ब्रेक मिलता है. इट गेव अ वेरी good break. This idea came when I saw Mohammad Rafiq, who was actually part of the rehearsals at that time. और while I was ideating और हम लोग jam कर रहे थे, तो उस वक्त उनको देख के मुझे ये ख्याल आया कि why not give it a break here? Because 3.5 minutes into the song, let's do a Khartal solo, which will really, give a nice break to the song, and it'll also help him showcase his talent here, his skills here. So that happened. And I wanted to give something back to Rajasthani folk overall. So लोग folk song से ले तो बहुत कुछ लेते हैं, बट मैंने ये कोशिश हमेशा की है कि मैं अगर रीजन स्पेसिफिक सॉन्ग बनाऊं तो मैं उस रीजन के म्यूज़िक के लिए कुछ कंट्रीब्यूट भी करूं, ना कि बस उसे यूज़ करके वहीं रहने दूं. और मेरी ये कोशिश कामयाब रही. जो वहाँ के लोकल सिंगर्स हैं, मांगनियाज एंड लांगा ग्रुप्स, वो अपने हर परफॉर्मेंसेज में, वेदर इट्स वेडिंग परफॉर्मेंस, वेदर इट्स फेस्टिवल परफॉर्मेंस और एनी परफॉर्मेंस, वो इस गाने को यूज़ करते हैं, उस गाने को गाते हैं. सो इट फील्स वेरी नाइस, इट फील्स लाइक अ नाइस एक्सचेंज दैट हैज़ हैपेंड, विच यू ऑलवेज वांट टू अचीव एज एन आर्टिस्ट एंड एज अ कंपोजर. Moti Virana, the song was actually composed by my mother 33 years ago, way back in 1987. And since then, I've been listening to it. She kept humming it and she used to play it, and she had actually created this for a function in the society. So it's been stuck in my mind since then. तभी से मेरे दिमाग में है. And I did not get the right opportunity to use it. I was waiting for the right place, right opportunity to use this song. So I was living with this song since childhood actually. तो है तो ये गुजराती गाना, और I couldn't wait for a film to come to me. तो इससे इंस्पायर होकर मैंने 80 आज़ाद, which is my independent music label, I started that because as I said कि मेरे पास और कोई एवेन्यू था नहीं इस खूबसूरत गाने को रिलीज़ करने का. तो 80 आज़ाद was like the perfect platform for this song and the perfect place to launch this song actually. तो मोती वीराना की जो मेलोडी है, जो रिदम है, it is filled extremely well with rustic Gujarati folk sounds. Now, these melodies and rhythm were already in my mom's composition, but I did not find this exciting enough to use this as a start. I'm talking about Moti Virana Chok Ma Avya Ambe Ma. This was the only section which was there, which she had composed, and that kept playing in my mind. But मुझे लगा ये hook है. It's more of a hook than a song to begin with. तो मुझे इससे begin नहीं करना था गाना. So because this part felt more like the chorus section of the song. So I created a prelude to reach this part of the song. So I created a section called O Mari Rum Jum Karte Aavi, O Mari Rum Jum Karte Aavi. So this was when one day when I was going to Ambaji Dham. Every year we go there. So one year we were going there and we were staying in a hotel. सो इन द होटल में ही मुझे ये ट्यून कहाँ से तो आ गई थी, इट केम टू मी एंड इमीडिएटली रिकॉर्डेड. मे बी गोइंग देयर ऑटोमेटिकली हेल्प मी क्रिएट दिस ट्यून. सो फिर मैंने अपनी मॉम को ये सेक्शन सुनाया कि मैंने बोला कहा कि ये सेक्शन आई हैव कंपोज्ड, आई थिंक दिस विल फिट इन ब्यूटिफुली and then it will land beautifully to your section, Moti Virana. So we need to write this. So then my mom took 2 full days and she ultimately penned it down beautifully. Though I knew it कि ये गाना मुझे लाइव ही बनाना है, फिर भी मैंने एक बेसिक स्ट्रक्चर बना दिया था अपने डॉ पे, अपने सिस्टम पे. As this exercise always helps me structure a song. Then I thought of my old Coke Studio band, the Chaudhary band. मैंने उनके साथ ही दोबारा कोलैबोरेट किया. I knew that they were the perfect choice for adding the grandness to the song. मैंने दर्शन को और संकेत को एक ब्रीफ दी थी to add grandiosity when they do the rhythm arrangement. But उसमें पता नहीं क्यों the way they had constructed in the first draft, उसमें इतना मज़ा नहीं आ रहा था. Because since I said कि मेरे बचपन से दिमाग में चल रहा था गाना, तो एक पैटर्न भी चल रहा था मेरे माइंड में. So जो कि वो मेरे माइंड में बसा हुआ था and I did not want to go away from that. So वो एक that was the pattern like dhung cha dhung ta dhung ka tak ta dhung ta dhung ta dhung ta ka tak ta. So I told Darshan कि यार why not this pattern? In my head this pattern is ringing a lot. So let's use this and see how it. I don't know. It might get just locked. It might just work. So he said, okay, fine, let's try. And when they tried, it kind of really worked really well. So that was the pattern of the song. So, and then I wanted to start the song melodically, so I used the guitar in the beginning. And there was this nice guitar prelude. Down, 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 down. That starts off with this guitar, electric guitar section. And then I wanted to use a Shehnai solo on this melody. और इसके बाद I wanted Osman Mir Saab, who is the singer of this song. I wanted him to get into an alap. Because गुजरात में हेकड़ीज और आलाप बहुत ही फेमस होते हैं. एंड आई इंट्रोड्यूस्ड दिस पैटर्न. इट इज़ अ सीमलेस फ्लो ऑफ इवेंट्स. सब अपना अपना रोल प्ले कर रहे हैं और आगे बढ़ रहे हैं. अरेंजमेंट्स आर नॉट सो स्मूथ एवरी टाइम. इट टेक्स अ लॉट ऑफ टाइम फॉर एवरीथिंग इन म्यूजिक टू सिट इन द राइट पॉकेट्स. यू हैव टू डू अ लॉट ऑफ ब्रेनस्टॉर्मिंग, back and forth. Some things work, some things don't work. So that way you have to keep going. One more highlight of Moti Virana is its backing vocal section. It is a pure and pious song of Ma Ambe. Therefore, I wanted to use a pretty decent Indian chorus section here. Chorus is also an element in the arrangement which adds a lot of character to any song. And I love using chorus section. And you must have observed and noticed in many of my songs I use a lot of chorus section. So there is chorus, there is Shehnai, as well as a mandolin playing the lead. So there's lots happening. तो इस तरह प्लक्स और विंड के कॉम्बिनेशन के साथ मैंने इस गाने की लीड्स तैयार किए थे. एंड दीज आर ऑल डिफरेंट टाइप्स ऑफ परकशन, विच इज़ वाई इट साउंड्स फैट एंड थिक. एंड देन ऑफ कोर्स वी हैव ओस्मान मीर साहब बीइंग द सेंट्रल साउंड फ्रॉम गुजरात. ही हेल्प मी कंप्लीट दिस सॉन्ग ब्यूटिफुली. ऐसे ट्रेडिशनल फोक सॉन्ग्स को अटेम्प्ट करते वक्त आपको उनके ट्रेडिशंस को हर बार कंसिडरेशन में रखना चाहिए. उसके बाद आप उस पर और इम्प्रोवाइज कर सकते हैं. सो डोंट शाई अवे फ्रॉम वर्किंग ऑन अ ट्यून दैट हैज़ बीन सिटिंग इन योर हेड. इट इज़ देयर इन योर हेड बिकॉज यू लव इट. तो हम लोग जब भी कोई फिल्म देखते हैं थिएटर में, वी सी इट इन टोटलिटी. उसकी शुरुआत होती है एक आइडिया से. अब वो आइडिया किसी को भी आ सकता है, बी इट अ प्रोड्यूसर और डायरेक्टर और द राइटर हिमसेल्फ और हरसेल्फ. वंस दैट आइडिया इज अप्रूव्ड, द स्टोरी इज शेयर्ड विद द राइटर एंड ही और शी देन राइट्स द एंटायर स्टोरी डाउन. फिर उस कहानी की स्क्रीन प्ले लिखी जाती है. द स्क्रीन प्ले इज देन गिवन टू द डायरेक्टर. मोस्ट ऑफ द टाइम्स डायरेक्टर, राइटर्स, स्क्रीन प्ले राइटर्स, डायरेक्टर्स, देर ऑल सेम. But then a lot of people play these roles differently. But the director, at the end of the day, is the captain of the ship. So whatever other directors need, सब लोग उसी गोल को अचीव करने के तरफ काम करते हैं. So as a film composer, it is very important to understand the perspective of a director and to understand his vision. basically the kind of story he wants to present on the film. Now I'm going to take you through different processes of how a song is created for a film for different directors. Now, the first is कि एक screenplay में उस film के गाने कहाँ और कैसे आएंगे वो mention किए जाते हैं. Sometimes we get a screenplay which is a big fat 150 pager book. तो basically उस script में उस screenplay में किस तरह के गाने आएंगे या क्या मूड होगा गाने का वो ज़्यादातर वक्त पे मौजूद होता है, लिखा हुआ होता है और कभी-कभी नहीं भी होता. कभी-कभी they leave it on the composer के how the composer wants to treat this or take it ahead. So वो एक brainstorming jamming session होती है with the director कि इधर एक गाना आ सकता है. क्या टाइप का गाना होगा is something that sometimes we together decide. तो ऐसे बहुत सारे अलग-अलग प्रोसेसेस है. अब दूसरा एक और तरीका भी है which I have done in films like Amir, Ganchakkar, No One Killed Jessica and many other films that Rajkumar Gupta has directed. So with him, specifically with Rajkumar Gupta, when you read his script, उनकी script में या screenplay में कभी भी कोई गाना mention नहीं होता. There are no songs mentioned. It's just amazing script that you read. It's a great read because he writes really well. His screenplays are amazing. So in that scenario, क्या होता है कि you kind of sit with the director and identify places where the song could come. It's a collaborative session with the director कि भाई कहाँ गाने आ सकते हैं कहाँ नहीं आ सकते. तो वो इनकी सारी फिल्मों में ये प्रोसेस आज तक हम लोग फॉलो करते हैं and we usually end up using or creating 5 songs for a film. That's a miracle. How we do that, it's amazing. It's me, Amitabh Bhattacharya and Rajkumar Gupta. So I'll read the script, I'll go through some pointers and say, sir, यहाँ पे try करें. Then he'll say, नहीं यहाँ पे नहीं, यहाँ try करते. नहीं यहाँ पे नहीं, यहाँ पे try करते. तो इस तरह से वो खेलते खेलते we kind of arrive at a good place and then it falls into place. Like it's when you watch the film, it's all seamless. इसके बाद फिर एक तीसरा तरीका भी है जो मैं अक्सर डायरेक्टर अनुराग कश्यप सर के साथ करता हूँ और अब तक आई थिंक वो हर फिल्म में किया हम लोग ने. that's what I have done since the beginning. Whether it was Dev D, whether it was Bombay Velvet, whether it was Man Marziya, whether it was Love Shafte Chicken Khurana, or the recent one that I'm doing, which is called Gun Gore Connection. Process remains the same, exact same, nothing changes. And that is कि अनुराग सर एक जस्ट बेसिक ब्रीफ आइडिया स्टोरी का मुझसे शेयर करते हैं. इसे एक आउटलाइन और रफ बेसिक स्केच मुझे मेरे साथ शेयर करते हैं फिल्म के बारे में. आई ट्राई टू अंडरस्टैंड द बेसिक एसेंस ऑफ द स्टोरी एंड द कैरेक्टर्स. देन ही लेट्स मी फ्री, देन ही सेट्स मी फ्री एंड आई जस्ट टेक दैट इंफॉर्मेशन एंड आई स्टार्ट क्रिएटिंग. आई टेक माई ओन स्वीट टाइम एंड देन आई स्टार्ट क्रिएटिंग समथिंग दैट आई फील fits right for that world. So what I do is I end up creating a bulk of 6, 7, sometimes 8 songs. And then once the songs are ready, those 7, 8 songs are ready, I kind of call him to the studio. He comes to the studio. He hears them all. He loves them. Most of the time what has happened, he's loved them all. अगर कुछ नहीं पसंद आया तो he'll tell me, suggest me 1 or 2 changes, इसमें ये करते, उसमें वो करते. And then the process is an amazing process that he takes all those songs back to his place. Then he starts working his script according to the songs. So whatever ideas he had, whatever vision he had, he starts changing according to the songs that he's hearing. And that is a very unique and an amazing process that we have worked upon. And it's always been successful. It's worked out beautifully since Dev D till now. I'm like absolutely proud of the album that I've done for Gun Gore Connection, which was supposed to release 2020. Now it's gone to 2021. So yeah. Apart from this, there's another film called Wake Up Sid. उसमें भी ऐसे ही कुछ हुआ था. In that screenplay, there were 4 songs already mentioned, which were composed by Shankar Ehsaan Loy. 5वां was not mentioned. The 5th song was not mentioned. अब मुझे एक window दिखी थी while I was reading the script. And I kind of thought कि maybe or maybe not, there's always a maybe, as we've always spoken. Maybe the song can come in here. Let me give it a shot. Let me try. I created those songs and I called the director, Ayan Mukherjee, and said, this particular situation, ये एक गाना मुझे fit होता हुआ दिख रहा है. You tell me what you think. And that song was Iktara. And I actually made 2 versions out of it, male and female. And they all loved it so much that they both landed in the film so beautifully. और आजकल, since the past 3-4 years now, since 2017, 18, 19 and now 20, एक नया तरीका शुरू हुआ है. There's a नया तरीका जिसमें composers पहले से गाना बना के रखते हैं अपने बैंक में. And then they approach the labels and the producers and the directors and vice versa. The directors and labels also go and ask them क्या गाना है आपके पास. तो ये एक नया तरीका है जो आजकल चल रहा है. I personally enjoy the organic and a beautiful process that collaborative process between the director, lyric writer, composer, singers, when they all sit together, jam together and create out of thin air something that works beautifully in that film. And it's like, it feels like part of that world. So I come from that school and I love that process more than this recent process that started. So what I believe about myself that मैं एक टेलर हूँ. I'm a tailor. आप मुझे एक कपड़ा दे दो, मैं उसी के दूंगा. मैं requirements के हिसाब से I'll stitch it and give it to you. Different films have different requirements for movie albums. At a very core, it is important for all songs of a movie album to belong to the same world. For example, Kai Poche's album is very different from Urta Punjab's album because they both belong to 2 different worlds. Films which are period specific, region specific, उनमें scope limited होता है. Filmmaker का भी vision clear रहना चाहिए. It gets very difficult for any composer when the filmmakers are confused and they don't know what they actually want. But in any case, I always choose the song which I want to create first. क्योंकि जब आपका पहला गाना बनता है, आपको पूरी मूवी का एक सुर पता चल जाता है. जैसे फितूर की स्क्रिप्ट से ही I knew the songs should belong to Kashmir. उनमें वादियों वाली फील होनी चाहिए. तो अब उसमें मैंने सबसे पहले I attacked Pashmina. Once I attacked Pashmina, I kind of got a sense of the entire soundscape of the film. कि फिल्म की क्या सुर होगी और क्या मूड होगा and so on. After that, I attacked Haminosto because Haminosto then became very easier for me because I kind of knew the world. तो automatically आप उसी zone में रहने लग जाते हो और उसी realm में रहने की वजह से you are able to bring that consistent sound to all the songs of the album. The first song is always the hardest to crack. It's very tough. क्योंकि उसके पहले तक आपको उस फिल्म का sound पता नहीं होता है. You are searching. आप खोज रहे हो तो. And it's something like you have to create something out of thin air. मतलब उठाना कहीं से तो which you also don't know if it exists or not. Unlike background scoring, जिसमें हम first reel से शुरू करते हैं. गाने बनाते समय ऐसी chronology नहीं होती है. You can choose any of the songs to start with. अभी जैसे मैं एक फिल्म पे काम कर रहा हूँ. I was given 4 scenes at once, 4 situations at once. उसमें एक शादी का गाना है, एक टाइटल सॉन्ग है, एक लव सॉन्ग है, and then there's another love song. Totally all different moods. So which song you tackle first completely depends on the composer. It depends on your mood and which feeling relate to you strongest. So once I select the first song I have worked on, it helps me understand the sound palette of the entire film. So we keep that palette in mind and उसी तरह से हम आगे बढ़ते and that becomes the DNA that connects all the songs in the movie. तभी एक मूवी के सारे गाने की एक दुनिया लगने लगती है. In Devdi, it was the trippiness that connected all songs to each other. सबसे पहले मैंने दुनिया बड़ी गोल है बनाया, फिर नयनतर से, then आँख में चोली. अब इसमें एक inherent psychedelic effect था. वो मैंने महसूस किया और बाकी गानों में अप्लाई करता गया. Another example of a very clear sound palette across the movie is Bombay Velvet, which has a very, very heavy jazz sound. And the whole soundtrack is It's nothing but jazz. Every song in the movie has that jazz connection. एक जो 50s or 60s के jazz में होता है. Therefore, it is extremely crucial to learn to create a sound palette of a film. And you almost always start by making that one song. In order to understand this better, do the following exercise. Think of a film composition that you like a lot and identify the sound palette by just listening to one song. And then later, the complete album. And try and think about how you would extend that to other songs as well. Scoring is the most challenging job for any composer. गाना बनाना फिर भी आसान है. Well, आसान कुछ भी नहीं है, but comparison में गाना बनाना फिर भी आसान है. But scoring is actually a very specialized job. Because when you score a 2.5-hour film, evoking all the ongoing emotions and elevating them through music is a damn tough job. The point is, I want to make the audience feel the same emotion which the director also wants from the scene. It is even tougher when you have to do this for scenes without a dialogue. आपको सिर्फ और सिर्फ म्यूजिक से ही वो सारे इमोशंस कन्वे करने पड़ते हैं. My film scoring journey began with my first film, Amir. When I started with Amir, I was in a very tricky situation. I was able to compose the 5 songs pretty easily, but I was not sure कि मैं background score को justice कर पाऊंगा या नहीं. इस anxiety में I started with scoring without watching the film. Yes, I did this. मैंने dark thriller pieces compose करना शुरू कर दिए. And when I was asked to see the film, तो मैं ये सारे pieces लेकर गया edit room में. अब मैंने जब वो पिक्चर देखी तो मैंने तब रियलाइज किया कि मैंने जो बनाया है वो तो कभी भी फिट होने नहीं वाला इन सीन्स में. बिकॉज आई वॉज एक्चुअली वेरी नर्वस एंड एंक्शियस बिकॉज माई फर्स्ट फिल्म. सो मैंने वो इम्पल्स में मैंने वो सारे पीसेस बना लिए थे वो डर के मारे. बट देन आई रियलाइज्ड कि अ फिल्म स्कोर शुड ऑलवेज बी डन व्हेन यू हैव द होल फिल्म इन फ्रंट ऑफ यू. ग्राफ बांधना और थ्रेडिंग करना काफ़ी आसान हो जाता है. Today this sounds extremely obvious, but at that time it was a big learning moment for me. A regular audience sees films in cinema halls or at home in a form of digital files today. In my line of work, though films come to us in reels, sometimes there are 8 reels or at times there are also 6. हर reel में 20 मिनट की मूवी क्लिप होती है. So usually a movie which is 2.5 hours long, it has 8 reels. Amir के बाद, I have scored a lot of films and I have learned different methods of scoring, which I'm going to share those now. Every film has themes and multiple layers. Every time you compose a score for someone in the film, you are composing with a different philosophy. Recently, when I scored for this film called Mission Mangal, उसके लिए हम लोगों ने सक्सेस के थीम्स बनाए थे. अब उस थीम में वी आर स्टेइंग विद द रॉकेट एंड द कास्ट, जिसमें सारे अलग अलग डायनामिक्स हैं. देयर इज विद्या बालन's कैरेक्टर, देयर इज तापसी पन्नू's कैरेक्टर, देयर इज सोनाक्षी सिन्हा's कैरेक्टर, एंड ऑफ कोर्स देयर इज अक्षय कुमार हु इज द प्रोटैगनिस्ट, हिज कैरेक्टर. सबकी अपनी अपनी अलग अलग स्टोरी लाइन है, सबके अपने अपने मूड है, इमोशंस है. द स्कोर हैज टू कैप्चर इट ऑल. और इसीलिए उसमें लेयर्स होते हैं. So there are layers after layers of the theme and you have to think from every character's perspective when you are scoring. तो इसलिए scoring करने से पहले to understand the characters better, मैं उस पिक्चर को एक ऑडियंस की पॉइंट ऑफ व्यू से पहले देखता हूँ. Like for example, अगर मैं कोई फिल्म सिनेमा हॉल में देख रहा हूँ तो I just watch it as a viewer. पॉपकॉर्न लेके बैठा हूँ and I just watch it as a viewer. I don't think about anything much. Nor do I think about the technicalities और उसको यहाँ स्कोर करना वो करना, कुछ नहीं. Enjoy the film as an audience. उसके बाद जब when I sit to work on it, मुझे वो फिल्म कई बार देखनी पड़ती है. कुछ नहीं तो I think 1000 बार देखनी पड़ती है, because when I'm scoring it, every scene has to be worked upon. So उसको हज़ारों बार हम देखेंगे तब जाके you keep working on it and get better and better at it. This is because एक सीन को आप जब बार बार देखते हो, हर बार आपको उसमें एक नई चीज़ नोटिस होती है, उसके हिसाब से आप स्कोर करते हो. Then you see if it works or not, because if it doesn't, you have to iterate again. There are two ways a director gets his film scored. One is when we get the films, they already have some temporary music, which you call as temp music, which is nothing but a temporary background score which directors use in their movies. This is done because the directors, when they finish the edit, while editing also, the editors and the directors together, they use some music piece to create an emotion so that they understand the proceedings further beautifully. And also sometimes they have to preview their movies to the financiers and the producers in a studio. So uska ek impact aana chahiye. That's the reason why they use this temporary music. Also the preview file should be engaging. Even though it's temporary music, the message should be carried across well. This is because the producers also need to understand the director's vision properly. Hence they use temporary scores to fill their films. Once this process is done, the films come to us. The temp music also works as a reference for a composer sometimes, as it helps understand what kind of score the director would want to use in a particular scene. But ये ज़रूरी नहीं है कि आप उसी temp music से cue करके अपना score बनाएं. The second way is, sometimes there is no temp music at all. For example, there are lots of films that I have worked on which has come to me without any music. Like 2.5 घंटे की film, absolutely blank, with just dialogues and nothing else. Amir was that, Mission Mangal was that. So it was completely blank. किस सीन में म्यूजिक रखना है, किस सीन में नहीं, ये कॉल एज अ कंपोजर आपको खुद को लेना पड़ता है. Of course, you sit with the director, you brainstorm with him, and you pick his brain, and then you kind of take it from there. So whatever happens in agreement with the director. Although the ultimate call is always with the director. A composer should always, however, share his own thoughts and ideas. In Wake Up Sid, there is a scene when Ranbir Kapoor and Anupam Kher, the father and son, have a fight. I was not convinced that the scene needed a background score because I felt it was holding it really strong because their performances were really great. But then the director, Ayan Mukherjee, wanted me to score there. Thus, I scored it. And the result was that the whole film had a carpet-to-carpet score. Situations like these also occur, and you need to adapt while working with different directors. Now, after Wake Up Sid, जब मैंने उड़ान पर काम किया, then that was a completely opposite experience, a different experience. Because while Wake Up Sid was carpet-to-carpet score, Udaan was completely sparse. It was like coming in like very regular or sometimes big intervals. But that was honestly the most difficult, most challenging score for me. क्योंकि 20 मिनट के रील में 10 के 15 मिनट बाद एक म्यूजिक पीस आएगा which will be around 4 to 5 minutes long. और जब भी वो म्यूजिक पीस आएगा, then there's a lot of pressure for that music to be the best. And I was amazed by the confidence that Vikramaditya, the director of the movie, had in the film. In fact, from my side, I tried to put scores in certain scenes, but he was very clear that we did not need them. Therefore, there are a variety of filmmakers, and you learn with each of them. Some directors want the audience to feel the scene with a minimal score, whereas some directors want the music to push the emotional experience of a scene. And every director has a different taste in music, which you have to gauge and work accordingly. कभी-कभी फिल्मों में themes होते हैं. Most challenging thematic scores have always been when I have worked with Vikramaditya Motwani, be it Udaan, Lutera, or the latest one, Bhavesh Joshi. In fact, Bhavesh Joshi was one of the most satisfying scores for me. There were so many themes in that movie. There was a friendship theme. There was a superhero theme. When Harsh becomes Bhavesh Joshi. And then there was a villain theme. There was a Bhavesh Joshi theme also, where he is a normal person like you and me, who is forced to become a superhero. So these two themes parallelly going of the same person. That was quite complicated, and interesting in a way. So when you score for a character, it is important कि आप character के बारे में सब कुछ जान ले from the film. अब जैसे in No One Killed Jessica, we have two distinct characters. One is Vidya Balan, who is a shy and a timid character, seeking justice for a sister. जबकि रानी मुखर्जी, on the other hand, उनका character is on the opposite spectrum. She is fully out there, a bold and outspoken journalist. तो जो इन दोनों के character का theme होगा, वो भी इनके ही जैसा होगा. विद्या's theme would be mellow, शांत और थोड़ी सी सौम्यता होगी उसमें. Whereas रानी मुखर्जी के character के theme में पागलपन और quirkiness होगा. वैसे ही Dave D में अभय has a angry rock feel, Kalki has a jazzy feel, and Mahi Gill has a very desi feel. Also sometimes you make scores for a set of characters. जैसे Dave D में you will hear a jazzy one for Abhay and Kalki both, which is if you remember this one. It comes from the mixture of flavor that Abhay and Kalki's character bring to the movie. Hence there is a mischief in the music which is brought out by some peppy, jazzy kind of music. Kalki scenes have that jazzy feel because she has an international look. Now, this is strange, but then it, never know what inspiration comes from where. So I took it from here. So ऐसे when you score for a scene with multiple people, you have to consider all the characters, all the scenes, their intentions, and their relationships. So scoring will need you to think from various perspectives to come up with the music. And I will always advise you to watch the unscored reels before you make any music for a movie. So let's talk about the scores that I have done for my films, starting with Udaan. Director Vikramaditya Motwane works with a lot of temp music. This scene has a lot going on.
सोचा था तुमको इंग्लैंड भेजेंगे इंजीनियरिंग की पढ़ाई करने.
There's the father-son tension. Then you're dealing with Ronit Roy and his alpha male dynamic.
कौन सा कॉलेज लेगा इस लड़के को?
Then you have Rajat physically supporting him when he's drunk. Plus, they are talking and opening up in the situation.
और ऐसा नहीं है कि तुम्हारा स्कूल नहीं आया. आए थे, तुम्हारे प्रिंसिपल से भी मिले. तुमको देखा तो मैदान में फुटबॉल खेल रहे थे. खुश लग रहे थे इसलिए तुमसे बात नहीं की. वैसे भी तुमको कहने के लिए हमारे पास कोई अच्छी बात थी भी नहीं. साला लड़की सेक्स भी नहीं किया.
So this is very complex emotionally. But Vikram's temp helped me compose this emotional piece. While the scene has two people, my aim here is to score this scene from the son's perspective, as I would want the audience to feel his emotions. So imagine if ये score father के point of view से create किया होता, तो audience रोनित रॉय के character से ज़्यादा relate कर रही होती, which would not go with the director's vision, as the scene's focus is on the boy here. तो किस character के साथ रह के क्या convey करना है, वो बहुत important होता है when you are scoring. अभी का जो music है, वो ऐसा महसूस कराएगा आपको where you will feel sad for the boy. इसमें the score could have also accentuated the insult that Rajat is feeling because of his father. तो उसके अंदर का जो aggression है, वो बाहर आ सकता था score से. But our intention here is कि audience को दर्द feel हो, ना कि गुस्सा. And this is also a strategic decision. Because movie के climax में, when the boy wins over his father, the audience will feel the emotional release. The audience can feel this happiness only because उन्होंने movie में रजत के character के लिए पहले दर्द feel किया है. So scoring needs to be seen from the broader lens of the movie. आपको पूरे timeline, characters की psychology और वो कैसे change होगी throughout the movie in सब का sense होना चाहिए. There are many ways how you can come up with themes. कभी-कभी बहुत से themes shoot के पहले ही बन जाते हैं after reading the script. when I was reading the script for the first time, automatically I kind of started humming this tune and this particular theme when I sat on the piano and I started jamming, playing something, and this just came to me because it was something about the script that was talking to me, which kind of resonated with this particular piece. और दूसरा तरीका ये भी होता है कि कभी-कभी आप गाने बनाते हो और गाने बनाते-बनाते भी you can derive themes from the songs. और कभी-कभी कुछ themes आप फिल्म के visuals देख के भी बनाते हो. So there are many ways where you can find your themes, of your characters and the film. Majority of the time, it depends on the films. मैं ऐसे सोचता हूँ कि फिल्म्स मुझसे बात कर रही है और मैं कोशिश करता हूँ कि मैं म्यूजिक से उनको रिप्लाई कर सकूँ. I prefer to do this because thematic music will mostly be played at places where there is no dialogue happening. जैसे उड़ान में, whenever there are normal chores happening, you will find there is a theme playing in the background. तो वैसे सीन्स में एक ओपन लैंडस्केप होता है हमारे पास खेलने के लिए, since there are no dialogues happening. The visuals alone set the tone of the film in such scenes. ऑडियंस को भी वक्त मिलता है वो म्यूजिक सुन के स्टोरी में इमर्स होने का. So having theme music in such scenes play a vital role. Of course, ये सब डायरेक्टर के विजन पर डिपेंड करता है कि उन्हें ऑडियंस को क्या फील करवाना है. Now, apart from these two scenes, उड़ान में there are two running scenes, which are extremely important for the movie. The first one sets the tone of the movie and the equation between the father and son. The second one, which is at the end of the movie, it translates the movie's title on celluloid. Basically, रजत का कैरेक्टर सही मायनों में उड़ान लेता है उस सीन में. The first scene happens when the father pushes the boy to jog with him. The boy is not able to cope up with his father's regime and struggles a lot. However, he completes the circuit. अब इस सीन में ये दिखाया गया है कि रजत का जो कैरेक्टर है उसको भागना पसंद ही नहीं है. But he does it because his father forces him to run.
क्या टाइमिंग हुआ?
41 minutes.
लास्ट में जो रनिंग सीन है, that happens when the boy is running away from his father. This time, Rajat is not only able to cope up with his father's speed and stamina, वो उनसे भाग के आगे निकल जाता है. He takes a flight, which is a feeling of victory here. जब आप ये दोनों सीन्स देखेंगे, the score in the background connects both of these scenes. Although one scene is at the beginning of the movie, while the other is at the end. The first scene has only a slight use of musical instruments, where the sound is not thick at all. In fact, the instruments accentuate the tempo of the running. This was done in a way to show that रजत को भागने में मन नहीं है. यही डिटेल अगर आप एंड सीन के साथ कंपेयर करेंगे तो आपको म्यूजिक में शुरू का वो लेड बैकनेस नहीं महसूस होगा. वहां पर एग्रेशन है. Then there is a tension when the father tries to catch the guy, but Rajat escapes his hand and then it opens up and becomes grander. The music becomes so much more rich at this point. Drums आ जाते हैं, electric guitar आ जाता है. और इसके बाद, after the run, there is a scene where the father stops. Here Rajat turns and sees that his father has stopped. अब इस तरह की सीन में कंपोज करने के लिए you have to learn to go with the mood of the scene. The music thus slows down at this juncture and later on builds up to accentuate the win. Plus उनके जहन में जो कश्मकश चल रहा है, जो टेंशन चल रहा है, the win for Rajat and the loss for Ronit, उसको भी मुझे म्यूजिक के थ्रू कैप्चर करना था. एंड वाले सीन में I have also used drops and build-ups. This is because जो विजुअल्स चल रहे होते हैं उनका भी एक टेम्पो है और रिदम है. उसी के साथ अगर आप अपने म्यूजिक को भी सिंक में रखोगे और मूव करोगे तो इट विल एम्पलीफाई द इम्पैक्ट. नोट दैट बोथ दीज स्कोर्स connect musically because more or less we have the same instruments. The notes going up and down also the same. So we spoke about Udaan and the scores of Udaan. Now let's talk about Lutera and the scores that I've done for Lutera. Ra, 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 which I have played and created in various different forms. Various scales, tempos, so different moods. Pure scale ko, pure theme ko all over the film I have spread it out. That's what the idea is, to first come up with the right theme, the correct theme, which will suit the film, the characters, the protagonist, whoever is part of the film correctly. So this was a theme which was created by me. And how this theme came about, it has a very funny story to it. There was a teaser that I had to work on for Lutera. And it was a 1 minute teaser. 60-second ka teaser tha. And I had composed a piece of music for that teaser, and which Vikram Aditya Motwani liked very much, but the producers didn't like. Then I created another one, which the producers liked, but Vikram didn't like. So yeah, these things also happen a lot. Then I created a few more, and then I was a little blank. Ki abhi kya kare? How do I create something which everybody will like? That's like a task, you know. So I did nothing. I just went for my holidays, and I think when I was in Goa, and in Goa, Vikram Aditya Motwani was also there. And he just mentioned to me that why don't we use a piece that's there in a song called Shikayate, which I had forgotten. It didn't strike me. Which piece are you talking about? There's this very small piece in Shikayate which can be turned into a theme. Oh, it's a good idea, but let me listen to Shikayate and listen to that theme what he's talking about. So in Shikayate, अगर आप सुनेंगे तो अंतरा जब शुरू होता है, बताए बिन गलतियाँ गिनाए डा 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 सुनाए लुटेरों को बागबां बनाए नसीबों की बात है नसीबों की बात है. अब नसीबों की बात है जैसे खत्म होता है, एंड देन देयर इज अ मुखड़ा विच कम्स बैक, ज़मीर की कहानी है ये. सो मुझे वो कुछ सही नहीं लगा. आई थॉट नसीबों की बात है के बाद ज़मीर की कहानी इज कमिंग टू क्विक, इट्स टू लाइक पैट, इतना जल्दी मुझे नहीं करना था. तो आई वांटेड अ कनेक्टिंग डॉट बिटवीन द टू, between the antara and the mukda. So I created a very small bridge which will connect them both. And that was darara nasibo ki baat hai nasibo ki baat hai ra 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 da ra 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 ज़मीर की कहानी है ये. So this was a beautiful bridge. I felt nice. Now I'm feeling better. I'm feeling good that I have just connected the dots beautifully. Which I did not pay that much attention to it. It was just a passing piece for me. But that, for Vikram, it became a theme, which I didn't think of. And I was like, yeah, it sounds interesting. It sounds like a maybe. As I said earlier, there's always a maybe. Yeah, maybe this might work. So when I thought about that, took that piece into consideration and spread it out as a proper theme, played it in different forms, as I said earlier, in different tempos and scales, it kind of worked beautifully. It kind of felt right. Oh, wow, this sounds like a good theme. And then we went back again to that teaser. The teaser create karna tha. Or वो 1 minute teaser, I created and composed basis on that theme. And bam, it was loved by everybody. Everybody kind of reacted beautifully to it, including the actors and everybody. So also in Lutera, there is one piece of music, which is a long piece of music, which kind of connects a lot of scenes together. So there are a lot of emotions and a lot of scenes going on, but there's only one piece of music which kind of binds it all together. After Sonakshi confesses to Ranveer about her love, you can hear a tense music piece start. Now, what is that tense music piece? What I have done in that is, I have kept one pulse throughout the piece. I think this is around 4.5, 5 minute long piece. And there's one pulse that it begins right at the point where Sonakshi says, "Kya aap mujhse pyar karte ho?" That pulse starts, and that pulse goes on right till the end of the piece. The scene continues till Ranveer and Vikrant are having an intense conversation over dinner.
मेरे सर पे मंडराते मत रहो मेरी अंतरात्मा बन के। खाना खाओ।
And then a lot of things follow. So all these scenes have been stitched with this one piece of music, keeping that pulse which is going throughout, and all the drama that you see in all these scenes is happening as another layer in the various forms of different themes that are coming in, different instrumentation that is I have added, which becomes bigger as the scene goes along. When the intensity of the scene rises, the instrumentation rises. There is a lot of strings, a lot of cellos and horns and percussions and a lot of things that keep coming in to intensify the ongoing proceedings of the scene. But the idea is the pulse remains the same. What is that pulse? That pulse kind of denotes what Ranveer is feeling. Ranveer at this point has a conflict going on inside him, a huge conflict, a dilemma, a duality, where he is actually come for some other purpose in this house, but accidentally he's fallen in love with Sonakshi. So Sonakshi, of course, is deeply and madly in love with him, but at the same time, even he is. But that's the dilemma, that's the conflict inside him, that he's not supposed to be doing that, but he's supposed to be doing what he's come for. The main purpose is to loot the whole place. But then this conflict I have put this conflict in that one theme that keeps going on, that one pulse that keeps going on. So this music is inspired by this whole duality that there is in Ranveer's head. And it stretches because the following scenes show what he was actually supposed to do. So the whole duality has been shown by the emotional and thrilling aspect of this music. Moving on to the next piece, to the next film called Andhadhun. Andhadhun का ये scene जिसमें Ayushmann is playing the piano at Tabu's place and witnessed her husband's dead body being manhandled by them. ये जो scene है, ये मेरा और डायरेक्टर श्रीराम राघवन का, हम दोनों का favorite scene है. The theme music that I had composed was based on a restaurant theme. कि एक pianist जो है रेस्टोरेंट में गाने बजाता है और उसको बुलाया गया है एक घर में परफॉर्म करने के लिए, तो वो वैसा ही कुछ प्ले करेगा. और इसी माइंडसेट से मैंने ये पीस एक्चुअली पहले ही कंपोज कर दिया था, बिफोर द सीन वाज एक्चुअली शॉट. सो इस पूरे सीन की जो पिक्चराइजेशन है, जिस तरह से इस सीन का म्यूजिक के साथ तालमेल हुआ है, इट इज़ द जीनियस ऑफ डायरेक्टर श्रीराम राघवन. एंड अ रीजन फॉर दैट इज कि सिंस अ मर्डर हैज़ हैपेंड व्हेन द पियानिस्ट वाज इन द हाउस, he should be terrified. But he still can't show it through his music because he's pretending to be blind. तो ये जो 4 मिनट का म्यूजिक क्रिएट किया था मैंने, इट वॉज ऑन वॉल्स. इट्स लाइक अ वॉल्स. वॉल्स इज अ 3x4 सिग्नेचर का पैटर्न. मैं तो बस एक अच्छा सा क्लासिकल पीस बनाने की सोच रहा था. आई वॉज thoroughly inspired by the music of Mozart and Beethoven. In hotels में often you'll find pianists on the piano playing classical pieces. That was the reference in my head. So while scoring for a scene, a vital point to remember is that you are composing from the scene's perspective. You have to find a balance between your musical instincts and the scene's requirement. ये काफ़ी challenging हो सकता है, but it gets easier as you keep practicing. The music industry has evolved a lot technologically since the time we started composing. पहले टेक्नोलॉजी इतनी इवॉल्व नहीं थी. In the 40s and 50s, केएल सहगल साहब के ज़माने में वो हारमोनियम, क्लैप्स, ढोलक एंड तानपुरा जैसे इंस्ट्रूमेंट्स पे गाने बनाते थे. पहले के कंपोजर्स डायरेक्टर और लिरिसिस्ट के साथ बैठकर जैम करते हुए कंपोज करते थे. बाद में एक अरेंजर को आगे का काम सौंप दिया जाता था और फिर बारी आती थी ऑर्केस्ट्रा की. लेटर देयर वुड बी लाइक अ 100-piece ऑर्केस्ट्रा कमिंग इन एंड जैमिंग टुगेदर. ऑल दिस वुड बी रिकॉर्डेड ऑन वन सिंगल मोनो ट्रैक. मैंने नौशाद साहब का एक इंटरव्यू देखा था और उसमें एक बहुत ही इंटरेस्टिंग बात सुनी थी. उन्होंने बताया था कि मोनो रिकॉर्डिंग करते वक्त अगर लता जी गा रही है तो वो जिस माइक में गा रही है वही माइक सारे इंस्ट्रूमेंट्स को भी कैप्चर कर रहा है। और आगे चल के जिन जिन इंस्ट्रूमेंट्स के इंटरल्यूड की बारी आती थी तब तब वो आर्टिस्ट अपनी चप्पल उतार के धीरे से चलकर माइक के पास पहुंच जाते थे, अपने पार्ट की रिकॉर्डिंग खत्म करते थे और उसी तरह से धीरे से वापस अपनी जगह पर चले जाते थे। बिकॉज माइक तो एक ही है और 100 म्यूजिशियंस है, एक सिंगर है, देयर इज ओनली वन माइक टू कैप्चर एवरीबॉडी। वो ज़माना था। इस तरह से 60s, 70s, 80s में how music was produced kept evolving. Then came the era of Sir A.R. Rahman, 1992-93. This is when composers started composing music with the help of computers. Because Rahman Saab had a very different style and a unique way of composing. The budding crop of composers started looking up to him, and that became the new way of creating music. I was 13, 14-year-old boy at that time, and I was also inspired by that. Since then, things have been continuously evolving. Like now, we have moved on to DAWs, where you don't even need to be physically present at all. A singer or an instrumentalist can record and send you their pieces from anywhere. So I remember during Urta Punjab, I wanted Vishal Dadlani to sing a song. And I called him and he was not in Mumbai. He was in US actually. And delivery बहुत मुझे जल्दी देनी थी and I couldn't wait for him to come back and वो सब issues थे. So I asked him to record it there. So what he did, he actually recorded the entire song in a hotel room. So it's that convenient because there was a musician, he had a workstation, he had a sound card, and a mic. So they could actually record the entire song in a hotel room. So the song is released that way. I can record with the singer today and record with the guitarist 10 days later. This has reduced the number of rehearsals a lot compared to the mono recording days. Also, this does not mean that it is easier for the artists now. It's just that the music making process has gotten easier with technology. A talent still has to be polished. Composers in India and the West function differently. Hollywood में जो फिल्म कंपोजर होते हैं वो लोग गाने नहीं बनाते क्योंकि वहाँ की फिल्मों में गाने होते ही नहीं, unless it's a musical. वहाँ के फिल्म कंपोजर सिर्फ बैकग्राउंड स्कोर करते हैं, like Hans Zimmer, John Williams, Danny Elfman, and many more. These are some popular names in Hollywood. फिल्म कंपोजिंग वहाँ एक बहुत ही सॉलिड करियर है. हम भी बैकग्राउंड स्कोर करते हैं, बट हमारा म्यूजिक जाना जाता है गानों से. वहाँ पर द म्यूजिक एलिवेट्स द फिल्म क्योंकि बिना स्कोर्स के द मूवी कैन नॉट क्रिएट द डिजायर्ड इम्पैक्ट. आप हैंस जिमर की बैटमैन का एग्जाम्पल ले लो या जॉन विलियम्स की स्टार वॉर्स. You cannot imagine the film without their scores. Their job is to make music for cinema. In fact, composers there don't even dabble in different genres. Although we are different from Hollywood, जहाँ फिल्मों में गाने नहीं होते. I do believe that songs are integral part to a movie if it comes together beautifully. I also agree कि हर ओकेजन में गाने बिल्कुल सही फिट नहीं होते एंड कभी कभी फोर्स फिट भी लगते हैं. हिंदी फिल्मों में अगर आप कॉम्पोजिशन का इतिहास देखेंगे तो आप ऑब्जर्व करेंगे कि गानों में हीरो और हीरोइन लिप सिंग करते थे. Songs are still very much an integral part of our movie consuming culture. Abhi, there are more montages and background songs which are composed in such a way that they take the narrative forward. मुझे डेवडी और क्वीन में बेस्ट बैकग्राउंड स्कोर का अवार्ड मिला था जिनमें एक्चुअली बहुत सारे गाने थे. एंड देन आई रियलाइज्ड द सॉन्ग्स वर कंसिडर्ड अ पार्ट ऑफ द स्कोर. So you need to see how music is changing with the changing times and evolve yourself with that. Keep up with the trends in technology as well, as this is a forever changing space. Don't limit yourself and keep reinventing. The more you evolve, the more you grow. All this will help you become a good composer and achieve success. Working with other professionals is a big part of the job. The director, lyricist, writer, and the composer are the four main ingredients for any film's music. Sometimes you also have to work with the producer. तो हम सबका एक intense jamming session होता है, where the director and the writer share the vision of the film. Lyricist में वो सारी information absorb करते हैं And then we get to work. Once the creative part is done, that is when the songs are made and everything is approved. Then we approach the singers, and there can be multiple singers in one film. Following this, you have programmers, arrangers, musicians, sound engineers, and sound designers. Here, the producer plays an important role as well. After all, it is he who puts in the money. The producer thinks from the business and return on investment point of view. Now, the director shares the song and the music of the film with the producer. A producer can ask for a change in the list of songs if he feels something won't work in terms of returns. So, sabka apna apna role hai. A composer has to balance out all these visions of the director and the producer and finally the audience. The first role I would like to mention is of a music arranger. पहले म्यूजिक अरेंजर्स 100 म्यूजिशियंस के साथ कोऑर्डिनेट करते थे. They used to be the translator for a composer's music piece to the hundreds of musicians who would play to complete that song. Now that has evolved. The whole piece of work is now managed by music programmers. They themselves are music arrangers. They do the same job now, but on a computer. जब मैं अपना 4 मिनट का स्ट्रक्चर रेडी करता हूँ, तो उसी में जो भी मेरे बेसिक आइडियाज़ होते हैं, वो मैं पूरे के पूरे खुद ही प्रोग्राम करता हूँ. बिकॉज आई वॉन्ट द सॉन्ग टू साउंड लाइक माई ओन. फिर मैं वो प्रोग्रामर के साथ शेयर करता हूँ, एक ब्रीफ के साथ. प्रोग्रामर उसको सजाता है विद अ बेटर साउंड एंड कंप्लीट्स द म्यूजिक. वंस द प्रोग्रामर इज डन विद द अरेंजमेंट्स ऑफ द म्यूजिक, आई ट्राई टू फिगर आउट कि इस गाने में कौन कौन सी पीसेस है जो हम लाइव रिकॉर्ड कर सकते हैं. I always prefer the sound and feel of live music. A computerized sound cannot beat that for me. जब इंस्ट्रूमेंटलिस्ट को चुनना होता है फॉर अ लाइव पीस ऑफ म्यूजिक, वो डिसीजन जॉनर और वाइब स्पेसिफिक होता है. एंड लाइकवाइज फॉर द सिंगर्स. पश्मीना गाने में जैसे वुडविंड स्ट्रिंग्स और इलेक्ट्रिक गिटार लाइव है, तो बाकी जैसे कि ड्रम्स और बेस प्रोग्राम्ड है. आई नीड टू नो माई म्यूजिशियंस एंड देयर स्किल, एंड एट द सेम टाइम दे नीड टू नो मी एज वेल. Once the song is programmed on the digital audio workstation, that session goes to the recording engineer. Recording engineer उस session पर live dub करते हैं, चाहे वो singers हो, चाहे वो live instrumentalist हो, या चाहे वो chorus हो, या कुछ भी. Then everything is put together by the recording engineer, and they balance the whole thing. Once it's balanced and it's in good place, and it goes to the mixing engineer. अब mixing engineer अपनी expertise apply करते हैं. वो सारे एलिमेंट्स को अपने हिसाब से एक बनाकर उसे यूनिसन मिलाते हैं. Their job is to make it sound like a song. Sometimes a mixing engineer might have to fix something the recording engineer has missed. So, mixing engineer उन हर चीज़ों को लेकर पूरे साउंड को एक प्रॉपर शेप देते हैं. They work to complete the song with proper equalizers, जिसे हम EQs भी कहते हैं, proper reverbs, delays, balance of the track, levels of instruments, sound patches and vocals, वगैरह वगैरह. उन सब चीज़ों का एक नीट साउंडस्केप क्रिएट होता है. Once the song is mixed, I share my inputs. Then there is a back and forth till we get the mix at a satisfactory level. Once we all are satisfied, then finally it goes to the mastering engineer. Mastering is the final product, the boost. The song has to be mastered in such a way कि उस गाने का एक स्टैंडर्ड वॉल्यूम हो. मिक्सिंग स्टेज पे you work on individual components of a song. Mastering में you work on overall levels of the song as a whole. It deals with the stereo aspect of the song. Mastering का basic logic ये है कि जहाँ भी वो गाना प्ले होगा, it has to sound proper. चाहे कोई किसी भी तरह के हेडफोन्स पर सुन रहा हो, चाहे कंप्यूटर स्पीकर्स पर क्यों ना सुन रहा हो, या होम थिएटर पर, या टीवी पर, या गाना पब्स में बज रहा हो, या कहीं भी, it has to sound proper everywhere. To stay relevant in any field, one has to adapt with the growing times. The same goes for the composers. हर फ्राइडे पिक्चर रिलीज होती है. हर पिक्चर में 5 गाने होते हैं, कभी कभी 6, कभी 7 और कभी ज़्यादा भी. And then there is independent music. So there is tremendous amount of music that is being made in the country, and the competition is sky high. It is thus important for a composer to keep evolving in order to stay relevant. An average musician's career is actually around 10 years or so. But it is possible to cross this. The best example of this is A.R. Rahman sir, whose career has spanned over 3 decades. ये इसीलिए पॉसिबल है क्योंकि he has kept himself relevant. अब जैसे इस वक्त हिप हॉप इज ट्रेंडिंग, हिप हॉप की अब फिल्मों में भी एंट्री हो गई. दिस वॉज नॉट द केस व्हेन आई स्टार्टेड, but now it has suddenly exploded. There are so many artists who are there in the scene now. There's Divine, there's a whole Gully Gang, there's Badshah, Honey Singh, Nezi, Kambhari, and others. And this we're talking about India, but otherwise in general, right now in the world, hip hop is the number one genre. और वो भी अभी relevant हो गया है. कल कुछ और होगा. So a film composer has to keep evolving to keep himself relevant. For example, Urta Punjab as a film dealt with drugs, which was a very big problem in Punjab at that time. I could have dealt with it in many ways, but then I thought of going with a little bit of trance, electronic and EDM, because that's the music that appealed to a certain audience. वो relevant था उस स्टोरी के लिए, तो मैंने उसको इस्तेमाल किया. अब मेरे लिए ये जॉनर में डील करना नया था, but I have to rise to the challenge. I have to rise to the occasion. Versatility is key अगर आप एक बॉलीवुड कंपोजर बनना चाहते हो तो. In the West, if you do jazz music, you will do jazz music all your life. If you are into hip hop or psychedelic trance, you will only do that all your life. That's how you stick to one genre and become an expert in it. You won't find Armin van Buuren who does trance, then shifts to hip hop or vice versa. Indian composers are forced to be versatile. And I think that's great. There can be a requirement of anything. One should know how to compose a bhajan if required. In the same film, I might be told to do an item song, hip-hop song, and a ballad. If you are stuck to one genre, you cannot be a successful Bollywood film composer. Some examples can be R.D. Burman Saab or Panchamda. They dabbled in all different territories and genres of music and created a wide range and variety of music in their career. Post that if you see Ilayaraja sir and A.R. Rahman sir, a lot of these composers have adapted and have been versatile. I attempt to be versatile as well. For example, I'm not a jazz musician. I have never learned jazz. But when a film like Bombay Velvet came to me, which dealt with only jazz, I had 2 choices. Either I leave the film or take up the challenge. I took it up. दुनिया में हर तरह के composers की जगह है. There are people like Nuclear and Divine who have a specific genre and they are amazing at it. पर बॉलीवुड में स्पेसिफिकली अगर आप मल्टीपल जॉनर्स में कंपोज कर सकते हैं तो यू हैव एन एज. एट अ वेरी कोर यू शुड डू जस्टिस टू व्हाटएवर जॉनर यू आर टचिंग. व्हेन आई वाज वर्किंग ऑन दिस फिल्म कॉल्ड ब्लैकमेल, उस फिल्म में मुझे एक जगह दिखी जहां पर मुझे रिवेंज डिपिक्ट करना था. दैट्स व्हेन आई थॉट कि मैं इसके लिए एक हिप हॉप ट्रैक यूज कर सकता हूँ. दिस इज बिकॉज हिप हॉप में एक अलग एनर्जी और एग्रेशन होता है. सो आई थॉट ऑफ अप्रोचिंग डिवाइन फॉर दिस सॉन्ग. उस गाने का नाम था बदला. मुझे बड़ा मज़ा आया उसे कंपोज करने में. आई वॉज एक्साइटेड क्योंकि मुझे डिवाइन की दुनिया को देखने का मौका मिला था. सो एक्सप्लोरिंग अदर जॉनर्स इज एक्चुअली अ लॉट ऑफ फन. सीखने को मिलता है. Whenever you're working on 2 projects simultaneously, it is very difficult to switch between the 2 thought processes. I was composing for Lutera and Ganchakar at the same time. 35 to 40 days थे मेरे पास और कुछ 8 reel Lutera की, 8 reel Ganchakar की. That was around 16 reels of background score that I had to compose in the span of 30-40 days. Now that was damn difficult. Whenever 2 different styles coincide, you just have to keep going. With time, you get better at managing it. I have been in the industry for so many years, तो पकड़ बन गई है अब चीज़ों की. और भी डिफ़िकल्टीज होती है जैसे कि शफलिंग ऑफ डेट्स वगैरह, उससे अब मैं डील कर लेता हूँ. The one good thing that has come out because of such challenges is that I have learned to say no. मैंने अगर 50 फिल्मों में कंपोज किया है तो मैंने कम से कम 200 छोड़ दी होगी, क्योंकि मुझे जो भी करना होता है वो पूरी शिद्दत से करना होता है. If you take up everything, then you cannot do justice to anything. जो भी फिल्म्स आसपास रिलीज होनी होती है उसमें ऐसा टफ सिचुएशन हमेशा आता है. उड़ान एंड आयशा, फितूर एंड उड़ता पंजाब, गंचकर और लुटेरा, एंड रिसेंटली मनमर्जिया और अंधाधुन। इन फिल्मों के वक्त ऐसा हुआ था, ये सब बैक टू बैक क्लोज रिलीजेस थी, एंड एवरी बॉलीवुड कंपोजर फेसेस सच इश्यूज। Criticism is part of this industry. Your work is out there for public. Whether you're an actor, director, songwriter, it's all for public consumption. People spend money and buy your product. If it's not worth, to troll karenge. One has to go through that. It is part and parcel of your career. The first time I got criticism, it gave me a lot of stress. And I had not expected this because I had worked really hard. Another reason why I was surprised with the criticism was that I was also very happy with the output. सोशल मीडिया पे कुछ लोग कुछ भी लिख देते हैं और मेरे लिए वो काफ़ी नया था and I was shocked. But you have to deal with it. I was devastated. My health was affected. It can put you down and destroy you. But you need to understand that it is temporary. आपको अपने काम पे भरोसा होना चाहिए. Before anything else, trust yourself, your work, and remind yourself of your passion. जो होता है वो होता रहेगा. What is certain is, it will never affect you in the long run if you are dedicated and honest with your work. So in the long run, none of this matters. Just remember that public memory बहुत short होती है. तो अपना काम करते रहो. With time, you get better at it, and ये सब experience करके ही सीखेंगे. मेरी जर्नी की शुरुआत मेरे 10th क्लास के वक्त हुई थी. शाम के कुछ 5-6 बज रहे होंगे और मैं पढ़ रहा था. अगले दिन मेरे ज्योग्राफी का बोर्ड एग्जाम था. नाउ देयर वाज सम साउंड कमिंग इनटू द हाउस दैट सीम्ड टू बॉदर मी. उस वक्त वी लिव्ड इन अ चॉल सिस्टम एट दैट पॉइंट, सो सच नॉइजेस वर प्रीटी फ्रीक्वेंट, बट दिस वन आई कुडंट अवॉइड. तो मैंने पढ़ाई छोड़ के आई वॉकड आउट टू सी कि क्या है. मेरे रूम के पैरेलली थोड़े से आगे एक दूसरा रूम था जहाँ पर मेरे कुछ दोस्त, सोसाइटी के ही दोस्त, एक छोटी सी इंस्ट्रूमेंट के अराउंड खड़े थे एंड दे वर जस्ट फिजिटिंग विद दैट इंस्ट्रूमेंट. आई डिडंट नो और आई डोंट नो व्हाट दैट इंस्ट्रूमेंट वाज. आई स्टिल डोंट नो. इट वाज अ स्मॉल बॉक्स दैट नीडेड टू बी कनेक्टेड टू अ सॉकेट. तो एक छोटा सा, इतना सा छोटा सा बॉक्स था और वो उसकी एक कनेक्शन होती थी विच इज टू गो इनटू अ सॉकेट. एंड उसी बॉक्स में एक इलेक्ट्रॉनिक प्लेट थी. देयर वाज अ प्लेट, इलेक्ट्रॉनिक प्लेट, एंड ऑल्सो एन इलेक्ट्रॉनिक पेंसिल अटैच्ड टू इट. सो द मोमेंट यू हिट दैट पेंसिल ऑन द प्लेट, you get a sound, and the sound could be a proper do re mi fa sol la ti do, that kind of a sound. I couldn't ask my friends to not play with that instrument. तो मैंने उनको कुछ बोला नहीं और वापस घर लौट गया पढ़ने के लिए. बट वो साउंड खत्म नहीं हुआ बिकॉज दे वर स्टिल फिजिटिंग एंड दे वर जस्ट ट्राइंग टू फिगर आउट टी टू. ऐसा वेरी इरिटेटिंग सा साउंड आ रहा था. पूरी शाम वो लोग खेलते रहे उसके साथ. अगले कुछ दिनों बाद जब मेरे बोर्ड एग्जाम्स खत्म हो गए, उसके बाद वेकेशंस था, and I had like 2.5 months free for myself. So I still feel, till date I feel that God had some amazing plan. सब planned out था, कुछ लिखा हुआ था ऊपर कि जैसे ही मेरा वेकेशन शुरू हुआ तभी वो फ्रेंड मेरे पास आया वो इंस्ट्रूमेंट लेकर. And I'm not kidding. It was like I was shocked to see कि भाई मेरे पास क्यों आ रहा है, because there were so many people fidgeting around with it. It could have gone to anybody's house. But he came and gave it to me. I don't know why. Till date I don't know why. कि भाई हमें कुछ समझ में नहीं आया. हम लोगों ने सबने मिलकर बहुत कोशिश की, हमको कुछ समझ में नहीं आया. तू खेल, see what happens. Trust me guys. बस वो एक दिन था और ये आज का दिन है. यहाँ मैं बैठा हूँ आपके सामने ये सब बोल रहा हूँ. That's it. No looking back. उस इंस्ट्रूमेंट के साथ मैं फिर इतना खेलता रहा, पूरा दिन खेलता रहा. I got so hooked onto it, so obsessed with it कि मैं खाना पीना भूल के सब कुछ छोड़ छाड़ के I was just on it, on that instrument. और उसके साथ खेलते I started figuring out songs. और मुझे अभी भी याद है कि पहला गाना मैंने उसमें फिगर आउट किया था तो ये सुना सा है क्या है ये देन आई रियलाइज एक प्यार का नगमा है, तो मेरा तो कॉन्फिडेंस है, अरे वाह मैंने गाना बजाया इसमें. एंड देन आई केप्ट प्लेइंग एंड आई रीच्ड अ पॉइंट के आई बिकेम लाइक रियली एक्सपर्ट एट इट. हॉलीडेज खत्म होने के बाद मैंने उन दोस्तों को घर बुलाया और खुशी खुशी उनको दिखाया कि देखो भाई दिस इज हाउ इट्स डन. बड़े चौड़ में फुल स्वैग में दिखाया कि दिस इज हाउ इट्स डन. एंड आई वाज लाइक तुम लोगों को कुछ नहीं आता, इधर देखो उसी को. आई वाज जस्ट किडिंग. उस समय मुझ में म्यूज़िक के लिए जितना प्यार और जुनून बस गया था आज भी उतना ही बरकरार है. तो जब मैं कॉलेज में था तो मैंने अपने पॉकेट मनी से पैसे बचाकर कुछ 1800 रुपये जमा किए थे, बिकॉज आई वॉन्टेड टू गो टू द नेक्स्ट लेवल. सो उस इंस्ट्रूमेंट से आई वॉन्टेड टू अपग्रेड माई सेल्फ टू स्मॉल लिटिल कैसियो, बिकॉज दैट टाइम फाइनेंशियली उतना कुछ बहुत अच्छा सीन नहीं था लाइफ में. सो पैसे पॉकेट मनी जमा करके खुद ही मैंने 1800 रुपये जमा किए, और उस वक्त एक छोटा सा कैशियो आता था हाई ऑक्टेव का, छोटा सा 1800 रुपये में. और पूरे 1 साल बीत गया था जैम करते करते. और एक बार जब मेरी लाइफ में वो कीबोर्ड मेरे घर आया, उसके बाद मुझे उंगलियों का खेल समझ में आने लग गया था. नेक्स्ट नवरात्रि में मेरे करीबी दोस्त ने अपने एक फ्रेंड से मुझे मिलवाया जिसके पास एक बहुत बड़ा कीबोर्ड था. नाउ दिस वाज द बिग कीबोर्ड व्हिच वाज द फर्स्ट टाइम आई वाज गोइंग टू पुट माय हैंड्स ऑन. और नवरात्रि में इस्तेमाल करने के लिए उसने मुझे वो कीबोर्ड 10 दिन के लिए सिर्फ रेंट पे दिया था. आई स्टार्टेड टू प्रैक्टिस ऑन दैट बिग कीबोर्ड व्हिच इज अराउंड 4 ऑक्टेव. एंड इतना प्रैक्टिस किया मैंने कि आई वॉज रेडी फॉर एन इवेंट. एन इवेंट क्या था? इट वॉज जस्ट अ 10-day परफॉर्मेंस इन माई ओन सोसाइटी. ये सब कुछ खुद ब खुद होता गया इन द सोसाइटी जहाँ पर माई डैड यूज टू डू आरती फॉर ईयर्स, माई मॉम टुक केयर ऑफ द गरबा फॉर ईयर्स. एक बढ़िया सा माहौल बन गया था दैट आई वॉज लाइक डूइंग माई डेब्यू एज अ कीबोर्ड प्लेयर इन द सोसाइटी विथ माई मॉम एंड डैड. और उसके बाद चूंकि मेरा हाथ उस 4 ऑक्टेव बड़े कीबोर्ड पे पड़ चुका था, अब मुझे उसका क्या कहते हैं टेस्ट लग चुका था. सो आई रिक्वेस्टेड माई मॉम कि प्लीज़ नाउ आई नीड टू बाय माई ओन सिंथेसाइजर विच इज़ अ प्रॉपर 5 ऑक्टेव proper workstation synthesizer. And still financially we were not that well off, so my mom had to take loan. उन्होंने एक्चुअली लोन लिया था 25,000 का. that was 25,000 rupees. तो from 1800 I immediately graduated to 25,000 rupees का Roland XP10. That was my first keyboard, and I can never forget that my mom always supported me in pursuing music. She had to take that loan from a friend. और फिर जब XP10 आया तब मैंने ट्रेनिंग शुरू की प्रॉपर. आई वेंट टू माई फर्स्ट टीचर जो डे टाइम में क्लासेस लेते थे, और वो डांस बाज में रात को कीबोर्ड प्ले करते थे. कुछ टाइम बाद आई स्टार्टेड लर्निंग जैज एंड आई चेंज माई टीचर टू जेवियर फर्नांडिस. ऐसे ही धीरे धीरे मैं अपने अंदर की म्यूजिकलिटी को और एक्सप्लोर करता गया. और जैसे ही मैंने ये सारी चीज़ें सीखना शुरू की, उसके 2-3 साल बाद ही मैंने कॉम्पोजिशंस स्टार्ट कर दिए थे. रोलैंड के बाद आई परचेस्ड यामा PSR 630. उस कीबोर्ड को एक्सप्लोर करते करते आई गॉट बेटर एट कंपोजिंग. नाउ व्हेन आई लुक बैक एट ऑल दिस, आई फील इन सम वे द यूनिवर्स कंस्पायर्ड मी टू पुश मी इनटू म्यूजिक. मैं कभी कभी अपने आप से पूछता हूँ कि व्हाट इफ आई हैड जस्ट इग्नोर्ड दैट साउंड व्हाइल आई वाज स्टडीइंग, माय लाइफ कुड हैव बीन समथिंग एल्स. I thus believe that I was meant to do this. Now when I sit back and think about it, I realize that the true purpose of my life was to create music. I never knew कि मेरा खुद का भी एक साउंड है. And I don't think this is something that anyone can learn. According to me, ये एक नेचुरल प्रोसेस है. ये किसी को मालूम नहीं होता है. बट म्यूजिक बनाते बनाते यू क्रिएट योर ओन आइडेंटिटी थ्रू योर वर्क, एंड इट इज़ डिफरेंट फॉर एवरीवन. द ओनली थिंग वर्थ नोटिंग इज one should always explore their creative side and keep experimenting with the sound and the kind of music they can create. जो गाना मैंने सबसे पहले किसी हिंदी फिल्म के लिए बनाया था वो था दुनिया बड़ी गोल है, from the film DFD. I was just going about it the way I go about creating songs even now. I had zero idea about how it would fare when it would release. मैंने बस अपना काम किया था. तो मैं बस यही बोलूँगा कि आप अपना काम करते रहो. Love the music that you create and pour your heart and soul into it. The most important part of being in a creative field like this is you need to be happy with your work and satisfied with where you are. मेरे करियर का जो पूरा ग्राफ है, live shows, then stage shows, then theatre, then films, then television, I have seen them all and I am content with this journey. Do the hard work and do it for the love of music in you. उसमें अगर उतार चढ़ाव आते भी है तो it's fine. Be patient. They will only make you better. Just keep doing your thing. Thanks to the technology, you can now create music from your bedroom. So there is nothing stopping you. Get yourself into music as much as possible. अपने बेसिक्स को इतना स्ट्रांग बनाओ कि वो आपके जहन में बस जाए. As long as you keep experimenting and practicing, you will be learning. Never stop doing that. There is nothing that can beat practice. तो मैं यही सजेस्ट करूँगा कि आप गाने बनाते रहो. टैलेंट तो रिक्वायर्ड है ही, पर सिर्फ टैलेंट से कुछ नहीं होगा. उस पर काम करके आगे बढ़ना ज़्यादा इंपॉर्टेंट है. Polish yourself as much as you can. Being a good composer is all about being immersed in music. With this, you have completed the course. Everything that I have learned in my career, अब ये सारा आपका है. Do revisit the course from time to time as it will help you grow. Spend your time with music. आप जितना म्यूजिक बनाओगे, आप उतने ही अच्छे होते जाओगे. Thank you so much for sharing your time with me and good luck everybody.